What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories.
3CB. Chapter 41 Rage Against the Top Management. Hashirama Cell. On the winding mountain road, a black sports car was running. Shalo looked at the scenery outside the window in a daze. Don't be nervous, Mr. Shalo, those high-level antiques are just taking off their pants and farting to declare their presence. If they dare to embarrass you later, I'll treat them to a virtual meal. Gojo Satoru crossed his long Erlang legs and made a gesture of using Kyoshi. Hearing this, Ijichi, who was driving in front, broke into a cold sweat and his hands holding the steering wheel were shaking slightly. Shalu's mouth twitched and he said, "Virtual type, is this? Are you serious? Those old men are so virtuous and capable. If it really goes down, I'm afraid all the ashes will be scattered, and maybe half the city will be paralyzed." As for why the high-level officials wanted to meet with him this time, it couldn't be clearer. Wasn't it just this time that they ruined their plot to kill Itadori with a borrowed knife? He thought about beating himself up. After all, in their hearts, they are not Gojo Satoru. Maybe I just feel that I am easy to handle. As for why I was in a trance just now, it was because the road I was on was so familiar. Winding road. Isn't this the place where Gojo Satoru encountered a night attack by Koko? According to the timeline, it should be at night. In other words, you will definitely be attacked by leaky corals when you come back. It can be regarded as a punch-in scene. Poor baby Luahu, he is obviously the strongest among the four natural disasters, but he likes to play high-end games. After being tortured by Gojo Satoru, the Shibuya Incident was instantly reduced to scum by Susanoo. Just when he was thinking about whether to listen to those old antiques or just kill them all with, "I don't eat beef." Ding. A new life choice has been opened. Close black lens bracket. Mission option 1. Face the beatings of the corrupt high-level officials and get angry directly. Reward. Uchiha clan swordsmanship. Close black lens bracket. Task option 2. Make a chamber pot out of Lauhu. And bring out the true meaning of water escape. Add phlegm to water escape. Reward. 1 card of chakra. Close black lens bracket. Mission choice 3. Young fish and reverse punishment. It's difficult to calm down, save Yoshino Junpei's tragic life. Reward. Millennium kill Kakashi's original creation. Task choice 4. Only children make choices, adults all want it. Complete the above 3 tasks. Reward. Hashirama cells. Please use, close black lens bracket. System, urine. Shalu is an adult, so the 4th choice is locked in seconds. At present, his biggest flaw is his lack of chakra. If he can transplant Hashirama cells, he will no longer have to worry about this embarrassing problem. If you're lucky, you might even be able to master wood release. Banya's ninjutsu scroll contains many ninjutsu related to wood release, but he can't use it himself. I thought that these powerful wood escape ninjutsu would be put into the dust in my mind. In this way, maybe the wooden style, which is known as the strongest style of style in the Hokage, can appear in the world of magic. At that time, Susanoo will tether the great Buddha. How exciting will that scene be? Moreover, even if the first 3 choices did not appear, he would almost certainly choose to do this. So he didn't find it troublesome to complete 3 tasks at the same time. After all, it was just a matter of course as the plot developed. Yoshino Junpei is a good boy, so accepting him into Akatsuki is not too much, right? In the original work, he thought that Yoshino Junpei would be redeemed and join a high school to become a magician. In the end, he was brutally killed by a real person and became a reformed person. And his poor single mother had a tragic ending, being brutally killed by a curse. With him here this time, the tragedy will naturally not happen again. However, this system is becoming more and more hellish. Just turn the Clepsydra into a chamber pot, but it actually requires you to add phlegm to the water escape. What a talent, why didn't he think of it before? As a result, the phlegm-added water escape is classified as an S-level forbidden technique. After all, it's impossible to guard against it. Shalu raised the corner of his mouth slightly and began to silently plan what was going to happen next. Gojo Satoru. Shalu-jun, why are you giggling? Ahem, it's nothing. Gojo Satoru could no longer guess what he was thinking, so he simply handed over a pair of noise-canceling headphones. I'll go in and meet those old antiques later and bring this with me. I guess after 3 songs, they'll be done with their stinky farts, hee. Obviously, Gojo Satoru received a lot of nagging from the higher-ups. Director's department. The atmosphere in the room was solemn and you could hear a pin drop. Natsuliu and Gojo Satoru stood in the center of the empty room with their hands in their pockets, tugging as hard as they wanted. It was surrounded by several large doors, and the senior officials were hiding behind the doors, as if they couldn't see anyone. Looking at the 2 disrespectful people, several cold snorts came from the room. Obviously, they were very dissatisfied with the attitude of Gojo Satoru and Natsuliu. Even if their principal Masamaiki comes, he still has to bend down respectfully and listen attentively. But right now, these 2 people have their chins raised so high that they look at people through their nostrils. They don't take the superiors like them seriously at all. Gojo Satoru, is this the student you taught? One who doesn't even understand the most basic etiquette. Perhaps it was the related spell formations arranged in the room, or the reason for these doors. The old scolding sound echoed in the room, and it was difficult to tell which door the sound came from. Shalu sneered. These old guys are really annoying, and they love to play tricks. Every word they say can make their voices echo endlessly, making them appear mysterious. To facilitate bluffing. As for this tugging Chuni position, it was Gojo Satoru who recommended him to do this. It's said that it can make them angry for a while, and it is best to make them angry to death. As expected of the neurotic Gojo Satoru. Faced with the doubts from the top management, Gojo Satoru sneered disdainfully, really? I think Shalo is quite polite. Speaking of this, he pulled down the black eye mask, revealing a pale blue 6 eyes, and said with meaning. And he's very powerful. Thanks to him this time, Itadori's life was saved. It's better than some old men who talk on paper all day long but get even the most basic information wrong. Shalo raised his eyebrows. Was this a direct attack? Come on, you've attacked everyone you can, how can I complete the task? Is it possible to complain about the slippery floors and poor air here? Hey, no matter what, it's enough to be pointless. Are you questioning whether our senior management deliberately gave us wrong information? A majestic voice echoed in the room. Well, this time it was indeed an oversight in intelligence, but no one can guarantee absolute accuracy in such things as intelligence. But you have to believe that everyone is doing it for the peace of the magic world and will never harm their own people. This is where the top management is shameless, even if both parties already know it. But they can still say these things in a high-sounding way, words that even they themselves don't believe. Haha. Gojo Satoru's face was extremely cold. Next time, I will kill you all. At this moment, as one of the big 3 sorcerer families, the head of the Gojo family, and the strongest momentum of the contemporary era burst out instantly. He was too lazy to accompany these rotten oranges around. Faced with Gojo Satoru's naked danger, the senior people dared not speak out in anger. After all, rights cannot limit him. The room fell into dead silence. At this time, Shalo found the right opportunity to speak. One sings black and the other sings famous. I have to say that you old antiques are already super powerful. I don't know if such a thick skin can withstand Susanoo's slashing attack. How about next time, let you go to play Susanoo? As soon as he said these words, the surrounding murderous intent instantly enveloped him. Even Gojo Satoru beside him looked at Shalo in surprise. But what surprised him was that Shalo was so good at attacking people. Presumptuous. Chapter 42. Even if the King of Heaven comes. Presumptuous. If you open the door curtain, you will find that these senior executives are all furious and their faces are red. Looking at his eyes, he seemed to be tearing Shalo into pieces. Gojo Satoru has a transcendent status and dares to speak like this. But how dare you, a mere civilian with no background? Even if you show super-level strength this time, you are still not qualified. After all, except for Gojo Satoru, it is not impossible for them to kill a special level by calling on the forces behind them. That's right, in order to avoid trouble, Yoan deliberately faked a civilian identity for Shalo in front of senior officials. Because these high-level officials like this kind of magician puppet who has no background and is easy to control. Shalo was secretly happy. I'm so anxious. Although he didn't know how far he would go to fight, he would naturally not miss any opportunity to fight. Okay, this matter has been revealed, but Shalo, please recognize your identity. An old woman spoke to smooth things over. This time, they specially called 2 people over. Besides beating, there was another important thing. That is, testing what kind of person Shalo is. As senior executives, their first priority is to be obedient. For example, Masamiki the Night Goose, an obedient person like Rakuganji. For someone as strong as Gojo Satoru who cannot control himself, one is enough. They had already discussed it before. If Shalo is obedient, he can be reused or even take over the position of Principal Yi Goose in the future. After all, the potential lies here. But if he is unruly, he will be directly transferred to Kyoto Prefectural Academy to work for Rakuganji Temple. As a senior executive, he naturally knows how to wield power. A school cannot have too many talents, otherwise it will not be conducive to management and control. But judging from the conversation just now, Shalo is obviously not a fuel-efficient person. So, several senior executives looked at each other and nodded. Shalo has outstanding abilities, but there is a shortage of teachers in Kyoto Prefecture. Furthermore, Layan Temple is already old and unable to teach students, so we decided to transfer Shalo to a sister institution. What do you think? After that, a paper certificate fell into Shalo's hands. He scanned it roughly and saw that it was a transfer procedure. And it's even stamped. Shalo responded directly, the seal has been stamped, why are you asking me what I think? Tisk, I still underestimated the thickness of your face. Everyone in the senior management. Is this kid still in high spirits? He just insists on using the word shameless. Gojo Satoru. Look at the qualities of the students you teach. In the past, there was a bad young man who made a big fuss with the top management, and now there is a Shalo who is full of modal particles. They have been in high positions for so long, when did they ever feel so wronged? However, due to Gojo Satoru's murderous eyes, they did not dare to say anything at the moment. They suppressed the anger in their hearts. The College of Conjuration is divided into 2 colleges. They are all part of the same family. Aren't they the same wherever they go? And the distance is not far. I hope you can take the overall situation into consideration. Shut up, old den. In a word, I won't go. Seeing his tough attitude, the senior management said, Shalo. This is an order from the senior management. Order. Shalo smiled disdainfully, and a blazing flame ignited in his palm, turning the paper certificate into ashes. Even if the King of Heaven comes, I won't do it. I said so. He would naturally go to Leian Temple, but not now. And it's not the old guy's turn to point fingers. He is not Gojo Satoru. After all, Gojo Satoru is from the Gojo family. He looks careless, but his qualities are in place. But it's hard to imagine that when I was a child, I was an aloof male god. But Xia Liu had a bunch of beautiful Chinese quintessences in his mind, and he couldn't even curse them for 5 minutes without repeating them. He doesn't care what kind of level you are, he just starts by greeting you from your mother. After hearing Xia Liu's reply, Gojo Satoru breathed a sigh of relief. The reason why there was no immediate reply was because the matter involved Xia Liu's own decision. He is not good at making decisions without authorization. Fortunately, Xia Liu decisively refused, and he was worthy of being someone he valued. Executive. Bold. Burned down. However, before they finished speaking, they immediately shut up. Because a faint voice sounded in the room, Shushi. This is. Gojo Satoru has already condensed an extremely powerful small energy ball in his hand, ready to go. They have been in high positions for so long, so they naturally know what this is. At this moment, he is already honest. Gojo Satoru played with the energy ball in his hand, raised his chin, and spoke with his nostrils. Humph, my student, no one can force him to do anything. The room was instantly quiet, and no one in the upper floors dared to say a word. At this moment, Gojo Satoru felt unprecedented pleasure. Through Xia Liu's actions, he understood a truth. When facing these high-level officials, you simply cannot reason with them. To put it bluntly, it means lowering the quality. Thinking about it this way, my quality was still too high before. These arrogant, self-righteous old guys only know fists. 5 minutes later, Xia Liu and Gojo Satoru left. The room was silent again, and the faint sound of grinding teeth could be heard. This sun must not be kept. Under the moonlight. A black car was driving leisurely on the winding mountain road. Aijichi looked at the two people behind him through the rearview mirror and asked curiously. This time, you seem to be having a lot of fun talking to the senior executives. In the past, he would send Gojo Satoru by car to meet with senior officials, but the result was the same every time. After Gojo Satoru went out, his face was gloomy, as if he was very angry. But this time, he laughed all the way. Did he reach a consensus with the senior management? Or did the top management compromise something? It can't be because of Xia Liu, right? Gojo Satoru burst out laughing. Ah, this time is really satisfying. The old guys at the top should be furious, ha ha ha. It's a pity that I couldn't make them angry enough to enter the ICU. I didn't expect that Xia Liu was so decisive and burned the contract directly. Well done. Especially the one saying that even if the King of Heaven comes, I will be speechless. As soon as these words came out, as Aijichi was driving, his pupils suddenly shrank and he almost shifted from fifth gear to first. His pupils widened and he looked at the two people behind him high-fiving each other in disbelief. No, did you hear that right? Xia Liu actually dared to directly burn the contract given by the senior management. No, how dare he? But why do you feel so comfortable? As an auxiliary supervisor, he has been instilled in him the belief of obeying the orders of his superiors since he was a child. Therefore, he was extremely respectful to Yewen and the senior management and did not dare to have any disobedience. But that doesn't mean he has nothing to say. Xia Liu's actions were considered as doing something he only dared to do in his dreams. He is indeed a man who dares to beat up the principal. I must not provoke him in the future. Xia Liu, who had quarreled with the higher-ups, was also feeling very comfortable at the moment. But Gojo Satoru's actions seemed a bit unexpected. He actually released the virtual style directly. Is this to scare the higher-ups? It doesn't seem to be this powerful in the original work, right? Otherwise, what would be the business of those old guys at the top? As soon as Shushi came out, the senior management didn't even dare to fart for the next 5 minutes. He didn't even have the chance to speak out. Fortunately, it can be seen from the system panel that news mission to the high-level officials has been completed. Then the next step is to make the Clepsydra into a chamber pot. Also, you have to remember to add phlegm during Shuidunli. Counting the time, the leaky pot baby should be out soon. Chapter 43. Do you dare to call me a chamber pot? Interesting for you. Selena Gomez posts powerful bikini then and now. More. 553. 138. 184. Soon after, the car had reached the hillside above the winding mountain road. Xia Liu and Gojo Satoru looked at each other and seemed to be sensing something. Gojo Satoru patted Aijichi on the shoulder. Aijichi, just leave us here and go back to the high school first. Huh, teacher Gojo Satoru, are you going to buy Kikufu? I can drive you an extra mile. Quote. 3 black lines appeared on Gojo Satoru's face, but he still smiled patiently and said. No need to bother, if we really use the magic power to get on the road, we won't be slower than a car. Tonight there is a bright moon in the sky, so there is no such thing as getting lost. Well, don't play too late, the principal is still waiting for news. After all, that was all he had to say, so there was no need for him to continue asking. I just feel like these two guys are getting weirder and weirder. Are all special level guys like this? Whoosh. The departing car picked up a few scattered leaves. The breeze blew and the leaves on the roadside rustled. Gojo Satoru put his hands in his pockets and said calmly, come out. Under the moonlight, a figure descended from the sky, making a strange cry and seeming very excited. Natsuliu and Gojo Satoru retreated at the same time. It's not that big, but it fell from a high altitude like a car weighing several tons. Boom. The entire road trembled violently, forming a huge deep pit. Spider web cracks spread rapidly outwards, and sparks scattered in the sky. After the smoke and dust dispersed, Luohu, who was choked by the ash, coughed and walked out of the pit, looking at the two people with playful eyes. A trace of doubt flashed in Gojo Satoru's eyes. What a strange shape. One-eyed volcano pothole. Look at this aura. Is it a special level curse spirit that has never been recorded? Shalu on the side raised his eyebrows and looked at the spout on the head of the Clepsydra with interest. Looking at it this way, I really can't blame everyone for making fun of it and comparing leaky corals to chamber pots. After all, at first glance, it looks a bit like a chamber pot. He is worthy of being the strongest among the 4 natural disasters. Just standing still, he can feel the overwhelming power of the curse pressing towards him. Moreover, these spells are far more powerful than the special level spells I have fought before. Even the 3 Susanoo we fought against before had less mana storage than it. The hunchbacked Luo who took out a pipe, took a deep puff, and showed a smile of great enjoyment. You too, who is Gojo Satoru? I'm looking for you, teacher Gojo Satoru. Shalu smiled and stepped aside. The system tasks will naturally be completed, but for now we still have to watch a wave of exciting battles. Just in time, I can step aside and brew some phlegm. Although it was very disturbing, for the sake of system reward, he could only do it with tears. Did you come to me specifically to enjoy the moon together? Gojo Satoru smiled and pointed at the mirror-like full moon in the sky. However, what responded to him was a fierce offensive that was as fast as an afterimage. Gojo Satoru put his hands in his pockets and swayed around, dodging the Clepsydra's attack. Does the strongest person in our generation only know how to hide? After saying that, Luohu raised his palm slightly. The wall beside Gojo Satoru suddenly protruded from a turret device that resembled a volcanic vent. Boom. The blazing flames poured out instantly, and along with the billowing white smoke, Gojo Satoru was completely engulfed. The flames were like dragons, sweeping across and turning the large woods under the road into scorched earth. Under the firelight, the night is as bright as day. Liuhu, haha, that's it. Just now, it saw with its own eyes that Gojo Satoru failed to dodge this blow. As one of the 4 natural disasters, it was extremely confident. Even a super magician cannot resist this unexpected move of his. Are the rumors too exaggerated? Gojo Satoru is nothing more than that. Don't you know a word? The higher the praise, the more miserable the death. Luohu put one hand behind his back, took a drag on his pipe, and said in a disdainful tone. It looked at Shalu again and gave a hoarse smile. Then, I'll kill you too. Shalu pointed to the location of Gojo Satoru. Don't you understand the principle of smoke without injury? Does smoking cause harm? Luohu's expression changed and he suddenly turned his head away. I saw that the thick smoke slowly dissipated, and a tall black figure stood unscathed. Gojo Satoru dispersed the remaining thick smoke with one hand and said calmly, set the mountain on fire and wear it firmly. Luohu's eyes became more serious, and he raised his hand to touch the smoking spout on his head. It's interesting. The purpose of its visit this time is to see what the strength of Gojo Satoru, whom Xia Yu calls the strongest in the contemporary era, is about to fall short of his level. Can Xia Yu be so afraid that he chooses the plan to collect Susanoo's fingers? In its opinion, how can it be so troublesome? Just push all the way, kill all the humans, and reshuffle the cards. Create a world without humans. But now, things get interesting. Looking at Gojo Satoru who was doing warm-up exercises, he grinned. In that case, let me verify you. Fire bug. Swish swish swish. In the sky, densely packed strange-looking insects suddenly appeared, flying towards Gojo Satoru with rapidly flapping wings. Its speed is like a burst of bullets. Gojo Satoru didn't panic at all, with a playful smile on his lips, and he calmly raised 2 fingers. The next moment, something strange happened. I saw a dense swarm of insects stopping in front of Gojo Satoru, seemingly separated by invisible energy. No matter how hard it is to make even an inch of progress. The swarm of insects let out a piercing scream and passed by both sides of Gojo Satoru, shattering the road to pieces. It actually has a second attack. It's very clever. Gojo Satoru dodged to the side of the road and commented with interest. Looking forward, he found that Luohu's figure had already disappeared. This move's screams hit the east and west. The leak turned into an afterimage and flashed to Gojo Satoru's side. Hot flames arose in his palm and pressed towards Gojo Satoru's head. Raging, Gojo Satoru's head was instantly ignited, and he transformed into the invincible Captain Ento, who was on the verge of collapse. It's not over yet, the strongest. Immediately afterwards, Rokuro aimed at Gojo Satoru's body with a crazy output, directly igniting his whole body and turning him into a burning man. Boom boom. The huge impact shattered the roads on both sides and scattered smoke and dust. The true magic spirit never looks back to see the explosion. After doing all this, Luohu showed a confident smile, the strongest. That's all. It seems that Xia You is too cautious. These so-called special grades are just in vain. It only takes a few moves to reach the extreme limit of the special level. Hey, you be *********D over there, your best one is dead. Don't be sad. I'll send you to reunite with him. Shalu was speechless. How come you, the cursed spirit with a chamber pot on your head, don't have a long memory? Didn't everyone tell you the theorem that there is no harm in smoke? Chamber pot. Hearing this, the three holes on Lulahu's head and ears spewed fire at the same time. Obviously, this title made it extremely angry. This damn kid actually dares to call it a chamber pot. He must be crushed to ashes. Gojo Satoru appeared intact again where the smoke and dust dispersed. Chamber pot. A good metaphor. Xia Liu, you are really a talent. Chamber pot, right. Let's just call you that. I've reminded you once, why don't you remember it? Luohu's body trembled, and she slowly turned her head, her eyes full of doubts. What happened? Chapter 44 Luohu, I want to fight that kid. Unveiling Tim Walls, the inspiring story of his family. More. 453. 113. 151. Luohu looked at his palm in disbelief. Are you kidding? This time, he actually hit the opponent, and the feeling of pressing his head with his palm has not yet dissipated. But how come this man with the eye patch is still unscathed? You must be very confused, right? Looking at the confused Minato, Gojo Satoru smiled and said, to put it simply, you didn't hit it at all. Impossible. The Mount Fuji, above Liao whose head raised smoke rings and almost erupted into flames, the touch will never deceive. Different from the first time, it actually touched Gojo Satoru just now, and every blow landed firmly on him. As for the boy next to him who called himself a chamber pot, he said that there is no harm in smoking, which is even more nonsense. It is not an ordinary special level curse spirit, how could it be easily deceived? What you encounter is the infinity between you and me. This is one of my abilities. As he spoke, Gojo Satoru spread his fingers, bent down and shook his head at the coral. Come on, my ability is a bit complicated. You may not understand it just by talking about it. Put your hand on it and you will understand. Come on, why are two men so shy? Rokuro looked at Gojo Satoru with his calm eyes, thinking in his mind. If you don't feel the murderous intention, you might as well give it a try and get more information. Thinking about it, it stepped forward and slowly raised its hand. Xia Liu on the side looked a little speechless. He is really someone who dares to teach and someone who dares to learn. It can also be seen from here that Gojo Satoru did not regard Leihu as an opponent from the beginning to the end. Always test his strength with a playful attitude. Just when the palms of both hands were about to touch, an invisible repulsive force separated the palms. Luohu's expression suddenly shook, and her heart was extremely shocked. So close, but out of reach. So that means all your attacks can't cause any damage to it. Tisk. Is this the strongest ability in the modern era? Somewhat incomprehensible. No wonder, Xia Yu said that Gojo Satoru can only be sealed but cannot be killed. Not even a sneak attack. Thinking of this, Luohu quickly took a few steps back, suppressing the shock in his heart. At this moment, it completely understood why Xia Yu was so afraid of him. At least, I don't have any means to defeat him. The chance of winning is 0, we must evacuate. Fortunately, Hua Yu is hiding far away, so escaping unharmed shouldn't be a problem. But before leaving, there is one thing left to do. That is to deal with that brat who dares to say that he is a chamber pot. Thinking of this, Luohu's whole body's aura surged, and flames erupted from the top of his head. Gojo Satoru became interested when he saw this. Mr. Curse Spirit, are you going to use all your strength to deal with me? I'll be with you anytime. No, I don't want to fight with you, I want to have a good spar with him. Luohu points her finger to the side and eats melon, which is very exciting, especially the word sparring is extremely heavy. Gojo Satoru looked back at Natsuliu, whose Adam's apple was twitching, and then at the angry Ryoko, with the corners of his mouth slightly curved. Then, let's leave it to Xia Liu. After saying that, Gojo Satoru squatted on the roadside, opened the fragrant kikufu, and tasted it slowly. Just in time, we can take this opportunity to see how much ability Xia Liu has hidden. The power of this cursed spirit called a chamber pot far exceeds the special level that Yuan has eliminated before, and it should be able to force him to use many tricks. Last time in the conference, Mei Mei protected her husband and let this guy get through. This time it depends on how you hide it, hee. Xia Liu snickered in his heart. The word, chamber pot, worked. The reason why he mocked Leihu as a chamber pot was because of his explosive temper. This will also allow the other party to take the initiative to cause trouble for you, thereby completing the task. Luohu's face turned red and he said extremely fiercely. In 2.5 minutes, I'm going to rip your head off, play it like a basketball, and then put it next to your bed as a chamber pot. Xia Liu just smiled and hooked his hand at Luohu without saying a word. Seeing this scene, Gojo Satoru felt a little strange. At this time, as the one being looked down upon, and being provoked like this, with Xia Liu's character, he didn't even respond. Isn't this completely different from Xia Liu when he was angry with senior officials? Is it possible that he is brewing something and it is not convenient for him to speak? Really weird guy. Trash. Apart from the head, don't even think about leaving the ashes. Luohu slapped his palms together, and 2 huge, Fuji mountains, instantly rose up from the ground, sandwiching Xia Liu in the middle. Boom. The flames that could burn everything instantly engulfed Xia Liu. Centered on Xia Liu's location, the surrounding mountains and forests instantly turned to ashes, and heat waves reached the sky. Gojo Satoru's heart skipped a beat, he was beating himself more vigorously than before. It seemed that there were a lot of personal grudges involved. Haha, I didn't escape. A disdainful smile appeared on Luohu's lips. But not everyone is Gojo Satoru. There will never be another person in the world with such a perverted ability as infinite. There's no harm in smoking. Huh, you're not allowed to be there. A gust of night wind blew by, blowing away the thick smoke. I saw Shalo standing on the spot intact, pinching his nose with his hand to disperse the thick smoke in front of him. Gojo Satoru swallowed a piece of pastry. The smoke won't hurt. He naturally knew Shalo's virtualization ability. It is an ability that allows any attack to pass through the body. Thinking about it this way, isn't it even more powerful than his unlimited power? Luahu's eyes widened and he froze on the spot. What a hell today, another no limit. No, absolutely impossible. Xia Yuji once said that there is only one 6 eyes in this world. And unlimited activation is inseparable from 6 eyes. This guy definitely used some strange method. Or does the theorem that there is smoke without injury really exist? At this moment, Luahu's heart began to waver. After all, I encountered too many strange things today. Looking at Xia Liu who never spoke, Luahu felt a bad premonition. Wasn't this kid quite mean-mouthed before? Why is he silent? Damn it. Don't pretend to be a fool for me. Luahu shouted angrily and threw 2 huge fireballs from his hands. Suddenly, a dagger flew to my ear, and a harsh whistling sound cut through the air. In an instant, Luahu's eyes changed from vigilance to disdain. Because this is just the lowest level curse tool. However, it immediately regretted it and saw Xia Liu's figure disappearing out of thin air. That's right, it disappeared instantly without any traces that could be captured, not even an afterimage left. Suddenly, the hairs on my back stood up. This was my unique instinct to recognize danger as one of the 4 major natural disasters. Boom. An extremely strong pushing sensation came, and along with the violent hurricane, its face and even the night were lit up by white-blue light. Just like that, Luahu kept an extremely surprised expression and flew away at high speed, breaking a row of big trees along the way. At the same time, sparks were rubbed out of the ground by Luahu's uncontrollable body, leaving deep ravines. Gojo Satoru covered his neck with his hands and almost choked on the cake. He pulled down his blindfold and said in surprise. Is this what Mei Mei and the others call balls rolling? You call this a meatball? This meatball is too big. Through 6 eyes, he can roughly see the principle of this move. The principle is roughly to concentrate the mantra on the hand, continuously flow it in irregular directions and compress it. It seemed very simple, but he knew that it was extremely difficult to use this move. Let's not talk about concentrating the magic power in the hand. Only a few people can do it by compressing the magic power in such a short period of time. What a genius. No, you must pester Xia Liu to teach him this trick. Also, what happened to Xia Liu's teleportation just now? Not even his 6 eyes could capture its movement trajectory. Could it be said that Xia Liu is a man faster than him? Chapter 45 Liku. Why is this water so sticky? Interesting for you. Selena Gomez posts powerful bikini then and now. More. 364. 91. 121. Boom. There was a mess in the mountains and forests. There were countless broken trees along the way. Xia Liu's body flashed and he instantly arrived above the leaky coral that was still gliding. Snapped. A pair of big hands firmly pressed Luohu's head. Just like that, Xia Liu stepped on it and used it as a human skateboard, gliding all the way. Luohu's pupils widened, and she was extremely horrified. What happened to this man? Such a terrifying speed cannot be explained by common sense. Even a special level curse spirit like it would feel so powerless. Chamber pot, work harder. Xia Liu's words were like a fuse that instantly ignited it. Chamber pot. How dare you call it a chamber pot? Die. The curse power in Luohu's body rioted, and Xia Liu who stepped on him was forcefully shaken away, and the terrifying aura spread. It floats in the air, posing with a bow and arrow. Call out. A huge firebird spread its wings and shot toward Xia Liu. Xia Liu calmly took out the fan from Shinwei's space and made a blocking gesture. The moment before the firebird touched Natsuliu, the Uchiha rebounded. Dwang. Something unexpected happened. The moment the huge firebird approached the fan, not only did it not explode, but it was rebounded back by an irresistible force. Boom. The mountains along the way were directly blasted by the rebounding firebird, which shows its terrifying power. Gojo Satoru. Is this a special curse tool? Why has he never seen it before in high school? But he didn't care and continued to look at the 2 people in the distance. Xia Liu looked forward, only to see Luohu's figure disappear. Next moment. Death. Luohu slapped his palms at his side, and the flames compressed to the extreme were like sharp swords, piercing Xia Liu's heart. Huh, that's all. Luohu took out his pipe from his waist and took a deep breath. He was caught off guard by this kid before, which almost made him doubt his own strength. Fortunately, what he has mastered is not wuxia. Huh, what? I saw that Xia Liu, who had been pierced through the heart, suddenly turned into a wooden stake with a bang. At the same time, the pipe in his hand was broken, and the wind roared in his ears, mixed with black snake-shaped thunder and lightning. Bang bang bang. The summer flow that opens the door to life is extremely fast. There are no fancy skills, just extreme speed and power, and every punch is wrapped with black lightning. In the night, 2 figures collided at high speed, separated at high speed, and then collided again. Gala. The crisp sound of bones breaking sounded. A punch hit the cheek, causing Luohu's face to become distorted, a few of his teeth shattered, and he flew backwards again. Gojo Satoru stood up suddenly and stared at Xia Liu in disbelief. What shocked him was not the suppression of Xia flow technique, but the black flash. Xia Liu used his fists and kicks just now, and all the attacks he hit were black flash attacks. There is no doubt that every blow is a black flash. The highest probability is Nanami's 4-hit combo. So how many combos did Xia Liu just perform? Dozens. Hundreds. The more I think about it, the more outrageous it becomes. This was a big deal. I wanted to take this opportunity to see how many tricks Xia Liu had hidden. As a result, he punched and flashed black. When did black flash become so easy to trigger? Wow, poof. Liu who spurted out a mouthful of blood, and walked the mountain with his body like a gourd rolling on the ground. The moonlight fell, shining on its bruised and swollen face. Black flash. Or punch and black flash. Where did this kid come from? What was the wooden stake just now? Is it a cover-up? When did it happen? I was completely unaware of it. We have to face up to this kid. He is different from Gojo in that he is powerful. Even if you call yourself a chamber pot, the pipe that has been with it for so long has been broken. Unforgivable. Boom. Mount Fuji, above the leaky pot completely erupts. It depends on how you take this move. It attached its hands to the ground and showed a crazy smile. For a time, magma slowly flowed out from the gaps in the entire mountain. Xia Liu could feel that the temperature of the earth under his feet was rising. It's a bit hot to the feet. He knew that as one of the 4 major natural disasters and the most capable of playing with fire, Clepsydra must have many hidden tricks. G-Zeben, Meteor, is one of its most powerful moves. But looking at this posture, it doesn't look like that move. Boom. Thick fire pillars soared into the sky, turning into a sea of fire, dyeing the night red. Seeing this scene, Gojo Satoru had an idea and disappeared from the spot. After a while, he appeared again, but he was still holding a confused Itadori in his hand. Wah, what's going on? The volcano is about to erupt. Itadori felt a little dizzy. The movie he just watched was about to reach its climax. As a result, Gojo Satoru suddenly appeared and said that there was no time to explain and the opportunity was rare. Then the scene in front of him changed rapidly and he came here. Wait, isn't that Xia Liu-san? Danger. Uh-huh. Gojo Satoru stuffed a piece of pastry into Itadori's mouth. Shish. Just watch carefully. This is a rare scene where Natsuliu goes all out. The power of this move is not small, even if he is a little serious about it. What tricks will Xia Liu use to deal with it? In any case, this is a rare learning opportunity that will be of great help to Itadori in the future. Raging. The sea of fire soared into the sky, rushing toward Xia Liu. The corners of Xia Liu's mouth raised slightly. It's finally here. He had been waiting for this moment for a long time. He touched the ground with one foot and leapt high into the air. The chakra in his body quickly gathered towards his throat. Water escape. Who will build the dam? Added version. Water escape. Heaven weeps. Added version. Water release. Giant shark bullet technique. Added version. In order to seek stability and increase his hit rate, Xia Liu used 3 different water escapes in succession. After all, the phlegm that has been brewing for so long must not come to nothing, otherwise the system task will be difficult to complete. Clap your hands 3 times with the summer flow. First, an extremely rapid waterfall emerged from the soles of the feet, layer after layer, and the scope continued to expand. Then, countless high-speed rotating rain needles were sprayed out from the mouth. Finally, several huge shark-shaped water bombs were condensed. With a wave of Xia Liu's hand, 3 different water escape forms formed a triangle and attacked the leaky coral at the same time. Idiot. The restraint of water and fire doesn't work with me. Luahu kicked the ground suddenly and increased the output of his spell power again. Evaporate all your water. Sizzle. The moment water and fire collided, a large amount of white mist rose. The reason why Lehu is confident is that the flame it casts is not an ordinary flame, but a karmic fire. So even though the scope and quantity are not as large as Xia Liu seems to be, he is still extremely confident. But it didn't expect that Xia Liu's water escape was also not ordinary water. In the distance, Itadori couldn't help but worry, is Xia Liu really okay? Even from a distance, he could feel the terrifying temperature, which made his face sting from the burning. Gojo Satoru was not worried at all. Itadori, is this your first time seeing Natsuru's water release? I heard them say before that both the power and the momentum were extremely huge, but now I can see that it is really powerful. Is Xia Liu a great inventor? One can actually change water into different forms at the same time, and the drawings are lifelike. I am a little envious of his ability. Sure enough, it is right to say that when 3 people are together, there must be a teacher from me. It just so happens that he has also become a teacher. Teaching students shouldn't be too much, right? As for whether they can learn it or not, it depends on the understanding of Itadori and others. Hey, teacher Gojo Satoru, what you should be concerned about right now is not this issue, but Natsumi's safety. Gojo Satoru nodded in his mind. Itadori's gentleness is no worse than that of his former best friend. He waved his hand. Don't worry, Xia Liu won the duel between water and fire. Wait for the 2 huge impacts to dissipate. The devastated mountain forests have become bare. Ahem. The leaky coral was washed onto a lake by the tide. Its bruised and swollen face can be reflected through the lake surface. Since its birth, it has never been so miserable. He raised his hand to wipe the water-stained clothes. Luohu frowned. Huh. Why does the water feel so sticky? Chapter 46. The one time I read in Tsukuyomi was given to Lehu. Luohu evaporated all the water stains on his body, and frowned as he looked at Xia Liu with a smirk on his face in front of him. Why does this kid look like he has done something bad? Could it be that the water just now was extraordinary? Ahem. Xia Liu coughed twice, and now his throat felt extremely comfortable. This trick is somewhat damaging, so it's better to use it sparingly in the future. However, all his actions at this moment fell into Liu Hu's eyes, triggering associations. Liu Hu's pupils widened and her breathing stagnated. Etc. If you read it correctly, all the water just spurted out from his mouth. Combined with Shalu's cough just now and the sticky stuff on his clothes just now. Liu Hu was shocked. Could it be that it already has the answer in its heart? Liu Hu was so angry that his face became increasingly ferocious, and veins popped up on his forehead. If his eyes could kill, Shalu would have died 100 times. Hateful. He actually resorted to such a despicable trick. Since its birth, it has encountered countless magicians, many of whom can spray water. But they are vulnerable to its karmic fire, which can evaporate it in an instant. But this kid not only overcame his own karma, but the water was actually mixed with such filthy things. It's simply a huge shame. How could there be someone with such low quality in the Conjurer College? The more Liu Hu thought about it, the angrier he became. If he didn't take off his head and use it as a chamber pot today, he wouldn't be able to make sense of it. Feel the wrath of the scourge. Spray. The Mount Fuji, above the head is erupting like a volcano, and the ear holes on both sides are also shooting out blazing flames. The lake below your feet boils instantly, rolling up layers of waves. The fish and shrimp in the lake are cooked instantly, and the meat is fragrant. Field exhibition. Chowdu made wait for it Mr. Curse Spirit. I saw Gojo Satoru carrying Itadori with messy hair, falling from the sky and landing on the lake. It's really an eye-opener for me, Natsuliu. Gojo Satoru put Itadori down and smiled. A vessel with two sides to hold Nuo. The originally extremely angry Rokuro couldn't help but froze when he saw Itadori. As a curse spirit, it is more keenly aware of the terrifying aura in Itadori's body. It's as if he was born with bloodline suppression. Xia once said that his own strength was probably as strong as Susanoo's 8 or 9 fingers. But now that I feel this aura, I'm afraid I'm a little nervous. Gojo Satoru. Okay, you can continue to fight. This time, we have specially invited an audience. Let's talk first. I support the blue side. Natsuliu. What about you, Itadori? Itadori. Huh. Oh, I support the blue side too. Oh, it seems that Mr. Curse Spirit is not very favored. Use your most powerful move to prove yourself. After saying that, Gojo Satoru and Itadori retreated behind Shalu. Shalu was speechless. How come you still have the upper hand on the winner? Do you think you're going to fight in the octagonal cage? However, these words coming from Gojo Satoru's mouth are not so strange. Boundless anger arose in Liu Hu's heart again. What? How dare you use it for fun? Natural disasters cannot be insulted. Followed by a furious shout. Its hands face each other, forming a seal. The field expands. Coffin with iron to surround the mountain. The violent and surging curse power spread out instantly, and soon the three of Shalu were surrounded. The unfolding area is like the inside of a volcano, with magma sputtering out from the cracks in the rocks. Shalu looked at the scene inside the field, and the general information about the leaky coral field could not help but emerge in his mind. The first is the sure hit effect in the field, but it doesn't wait for such a powerful field to launch an attack. An ordinary conjurer would probably be reduced to ashes the moment he steps in. It is an extremely dangerous space, and it can also be pursued according to the wish of the caster. If you catch a high fever and pursue it, your ashes may be scattered. With the protection of Gojo Satoru, Itadori was naturally fine. He looked around like a curious baby. Wow, this is the realm. The tone was full of yearning and envy. Gojo Satoru patiently explained, the domain is built by powerful spellcasters and the unique abilities of special-level spell spirits, using their own spell power. What you met in the children's palace before was an ordinary realm of birth. This Mr. Curse Spirits is much more powerful. By the way, there are 2 levels, no field and one with a field. Basically, after the one who owns it starts, there is a high probability that the overall situation has been established. So, the best way to fight against a domain is for us to open a domain to confront it. Whoever has a stronger domain will win. That's it. Itadori nodded thoughtfully, then seemed to think of something and said in surprise. Does Shalu have a domain? If not, wouldn't it be very dangerous? Shalu is a different kind, so it doesn't count. Gojo Satoru had no choice but to answer this. After all, from beginning to end, Shalu never seemed to show his domain. But thinking of the big ball from before, he thought that Shalu must have his own field. After all, such terrifying ability to control spell power is enough to open up one's own realm of survival. But if there is, it should be opened the moment it is covered by the field. After all, this is the safest way. But Shalu had too many skill packages, and he couldn't judge. As a master of inventing spells, what method will he use to break this realm? Come on, chamber pot, force out all the trump cards of that boy Shalu. Boom. The hot air waves hit his face, and Itadori felt it was difficult to breathe. So strong. This is the most powerful existence among the curse spirits he has encountered so far. Comparing it with the special grade curse spirit that put him in a desperate situation in the children's palace last time, the two are not on the same level at all. Even the 3-finger Susanoo in the body is not as good as the curse spirit in front of me. Looking at Itadori who looked worried, Gojo said, don't worry, you will win. After all, that volcano-headed curse spirit is very weak. Itadori. Huh, you call this weak? Teacher Gojo Satoru took him to see a high-end game of this level. Are you really not afraid that something will happen to you? Just because of the aftermath of the fight, I might have to go see my grandfather in advance. Luohu was furious. A-hole. Figure out your situation, this is my domain. He looked at the people across from him talking and laughing, with relaxed and comfortable expressions, not taking his own field seriously at all. Damn humans, arrogant conjurers. Today I will show you the consequences of offending natural disasters. The words fell. The surrounding rock walls collapsed, a large amount of magma spewed out, and the flames under the feet boiled, condensing and compressing into a red-hot giant sword. Luohu didn't hesitate at all and controlled Xia Liu with his giant sword. 1. In its mind, although he was suppressed and beaten all the way, Xia Liu always gave him the feeling that he could kill by surprise. Compared to Gojo Satoru's unlimited limit, the moment it came into contact, it knew it was absolutely impossible. It can only be sealed, there is no possibility of killing. Second, Xia Liu not only called it a chamber pot many times, but also used such dirty tricks. No matter what, it is unforgivable. The moment the giant sword locked its target on Xia Liu only felt that the heat wave in the entire domain space was rushing toward him. However, he did not panic at all, and calmly raised his hand to cover his left eye, leaving only his scarlet and demonic right eye. Since acquiring Tsukuyomi, I have never found a suitable subject to experiment on. That's all, give Tsukuyomi this precious first time. Chapter 47 Illusion Shattered Realm. Looking at Xia Liu's calm back, Gojo Satoru's eyes narrowed slightly. Xia Liu, don't you use your domain yet? Could it be that he was going to use the purple giant Shikigami that Mei Mei and the others called to withstand this blow? Anyway, no matter which way it is, it must be amazing, right? Thinking of these, Gojo Satoru's heart moved. He took out his mobile phone from his pocket and found all members of IT in a group chat called Spell Family. Group leader Yi Goose Masamaiki Satoru. Which sutra did you make wrong again? All the members of IT in the middle of the night. 99 UG. It doesn't matter, I'm overseas, it's daytime. Favorite Kikufuku Gojo Satoru, who knows, my family, when I encountered an unknown volcano head special grade cursed spirit attacking me at night in the middle of the night, I was really upset. Picture. Then, he also posted a video of Xia Liu confronting the leaky pot. Mei Mei, where are you? Why is there lava everywhere, inside the volcano? Why is there a huge flaming sword hanging above Xia Liu's head? Nanami, if you guessed it right, this should be the realm of the cursed spirit. You can feel the heat wave through the screen. Utahime, hey, are you crazy? Why did you bring Itadori with you? You think he didn't die fast enough? Favorite Kikufuku Gojo Satoru, yes, this is the realm of the cursed spirit. The name seems to be, Tai Coffin Iron Enclosed Mountain. It is a special grade cursed spirit that has not been included, so its name is tentatively named Chamber Pot acquired by Xia Liu. Kugizaki Wild Rose, go and help Xia Liu. They are fighting the cursed spirit to death, but you are making videos and posting in group chats. Shoko. Z's. Group leader Masamaiki, why are you still standing there? Satoru. Go help Natsuliu, you idiot. Gojo Satoru. As a magician, I have to practice martial ethics. Mr. Chamber Pot wants to challenge Xia Liu in a duel. It seems that he has some deep hatred. And nothing will happen. Don't you know Xia Liu's strength yet? It's simply a bottomless pit. Don't you want to see how Xia Liu responds and cracks the realm of the cursed spirit? So, you should thank me. Finally, please ban Utahime, thank you. Utahime. *********************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************œuvre Xia Liu was mysterious and mysterious, and from time to time he would surprise their little hearts with a spell they had never seen before. They also wanted to see how many unseen techniques Xia Liu had hidden in him. Just like that, Gojo Satoru opened the video, and everyone in the high school lost their sleep. They held their breath and stared at the screen to watch. Just like watching the climax of a AAA masterpiece, you are fully focused. In order to get a better viewing angle, the considerate Gojo Satoru even went to take pictures from the side of Natsuliu and Rokuko. Itadori was left shivering alone. Then the next second, everyone including Gojo Satoru was shocked. I saw a faint smile on Xia Liu's lips. He calmly raised his hand to touch his eyes. It seemed that his eyes were condensed, and a strange scarlet light shot out from his eyes. Two huge Sharingan eyes appeared out of thin air behind Lehu, and the scarlet and gorgeous patterns slowly rotated. Base. The next second, a dazzling bloody light emitted. While watching, Kugizaki Wild Rose, Shoko accidentally fell into a trance stage. His eyes turned white and he fell unconscious on the bed. A ferocious smile appeared at the corner of Luahu's mouth, she raised her hand and waved it vigorously, and the flaming giant sword burst out. This is its territory, and any attack will definitely hit. Except for Gojo Satoru's unlimited limit, it couldn't imagine how Xia Liu could avoid this move. Brush. The flaming giant sword fell, and Xia Liu was killed without any resistance, leaving only his head rolling to the ground. However, from the perspective of everyone in the college, it is completely different. The flaming giant sword summoned by Luahu automatically changed its direction and was aimed at itself. As expected, Luahu's head and body were separated. The head that rolled to the ground showed a happy smile of revenge, ha ha ha. This is the consequence of provoking a natural disaster. You'd better take a look at yourself. Xia Liu's extremely plain voice reached his ears. Immediately afterwards, there was a click, and the field of leaky coral shattered into fragments all over the sky like broken glass. Luahu frowned, extremely confused. Can he still speak with only one head left? Etc. After looking into Xia Liu's scarlet eyes, Luahu instinctively felt fear and wanted to retreat. But he found that his body was gone. There was only one head left. The realm was actually broken. This is, when. As Shalo released the Tsukuyomi illusion, Leihu's pupils couldn't stop trembling, and everything that had happened before flooded into his mind. Eyes, everything starts by looking into those eyes. At first, when he saw that red light, he didn't pay much attention to it. After all, this is its domain. If Gojo Satoru doesn't take action, the opponent can't make any waves. But looking back now, it was at that moment that I lost my mind and everything I saw was an illusion. In other words, in his own eyes, the flaming giant sword struck Xia. But the real situation is that he was the one who was hit. If the other party hadn't reminded him, I might not have been able to see the truth until my death. What kind of eyes are those? Unheard of. Do you understand now? Xiaolu's words echoed in his ears like gods. Luo, who subconsciously raised his head and saw a figure wearing a fire cloud robe, bathed in the sacred and dazzling golden light. Those enchanting eyes emitted red light. Luo sighed in his heart. So beautiful. What kind of eyes are these? They are simply perfect works of art. It's ridiculous that I would be fascinated by other people's abilities. What's going on? Mr. Curse Spirit actually slashed at me with his sword. Gojo Satoru raised his foot and stepped on Raku's head, pointed his phone at it, and said with a smile. Mr. Curse Spirit, is there something you can't think of? Come, let everyone see what you look like. Afterwards, Gojo Satoru leaned closer and looked at Xiaolu's eyes carefully. He rubbed his chin and frowned. The color of your eyes has returned to black. He is not a fool, so he naturally noticed something strange. After the red light flashed, Liu, who looked like Shilezi, while controlling the giant sword to cut himself, he laughed crazily, saying that Xia deserved it, and that this was what would happen if he provoked a natural disaster. It was clear that his body had been destroyed, leaving only his head, but he didn't notice it at all. Could it be that the root of all this is caused by his eyes? Shouldn't he be so perverted? Xia must have used other warlocks without anyone noticing. And avoid everyone's eyes. Xia Jun, tell me honestly, is all this because of your eyes? Don't try to get away with it, everyone on the phone is watching. With that said, Gojo Satoru turned on the flashlight function and pointed the phone camera at Xia at a death angle. The corner of Xiaolu's mouth twitched, and his mother said in his heart, after all, he underestimated Gojo Satoru's nervousness, and he was fighting with Leiho in front. He was actually behind, secretly recording the video. Does Itadori not care anymore? At this moment, Itadori was standing there blankly, his eyes distracted, as if he had lost his soul. Obviously, it was because Xia stared into his eyes too seriously when he performed the illusion. There was some impact. At the same time, on the cliff in the distance, Xia hid his hands in his sleeves and spoke slowly. Luo, who has been defeated, do you want to save him? Let me tell you first, I can't be seen by anyone from the high school, especially my former best friend, Gojo Satoru. Yu didn't say anything, and a white flower bloomed on her fingertips. Xia smiled knowingly and already understood what he meant. Go ahead. To a certain extent, you and Luo, who are also close friends. Whoosh. Yu's figure disappeared instantly. Chapter 48 American II, times have changed. Xia looked at Yu's disappearing back and paused on the spot with a solemn expression. Since the leaky coral opened the field, he has been unable to observe everything that happened inside. Not long after, a click was heard, and the realm was violently broken open. Could it be that Gojo Satoru took action? Although the field of leaky coral is very strong, it is of no avail in the face of immeasurable emptiness. In this way, the realm is broken, but it is within a reasonable range. I hope Luahu's brain has not been dumbed down by the junk information in the infinite space. But he was confused about one thing. Why did Luahu suddenly go crazy and point the finger at another person? Moreover, he was pressed and beaten all the way. Could it be that this boy is the conjurer who previously sabotaged Genren's plan and killed the love spell spirit? It seems that the magic college has welcomed another genius comparable to Okatsu. However, it doesn't hurt. He smiled and took out a box covered with sealing strips, prison gate. Enlightenment, I will have to force you to stay in the prison gate for a while. If you are not sealed, how can I dare to be born? At the foot of the mountain. After Xia explained to his cell phone, Gojo Satoru opened the group chat half convinced and half confused. Favorite Kukifu Gojo Satoru, no, you have all heard it, his move is called illusion. Mei Mei, yes, my Xia once controlled a group of curse masters to kill each other with a look pride. Utahime. Hiss. Take a breath of cold air, isn't this too perverted? It can actually directly confuse the consciousness of a special curse spirit. Nanami. However, the backlash of overuse of the eyes is also great. When I fought with Susanoo, it is not an exaggeration to describe it as being covered in blood. 99 Yuki. Hey, what a disappointment. I thought I could see a wonderful showdown, but this little brother ended it with a glare. I don't know, what kind of woman does he like? Everyone. Looking at Liao, who with only one head left, Xia nodded with satisfaction. The first time I used Tsukuyomi, the effect was very good, far beyond ordinary illusions. And he still had a trick up his sleeve, just using illusions to make Leihu see the illusion. The truly tortuous and terrifying side of Tsukuyomi has not yet been revealed, such as the cross-execution platform. It doesn't matter if you keep something safe, but what if Xia shows too much abnormality and leaves the prison gate to himself? Whether Kamui can escape from prison gate is still a question mark. After all, the setting of prison gate is also very abnormal. He will not take the risk to bet on which of the two settings is better. And this place is different from comics, it is a living reality, full of variables. If you throw out too much information in a spoiler-like manner, you may avoid some things from happening, but doing so will also create many unknown variables. As a time traveler, you may not forget the butterfly effect. It is better to keep the general direction of the story in your own hands, so that you can do things more conveniently. At this moment, Lu Hu, who had only one head left, was still looking closely at Xia Liu's eyes. The previous anger towards Xia Liu has long since dissipated, replaced by fear. Afraid of his eyes, Gojo Satoru stepped on Neko's head and swung it back and forth like a football. Tell me, who ordered you to ambush me? What is the purpose? He has not forgotten that this guy was looking for him by name at the beginning. Therefore, there must be someone behind the scenes, or it may be its ally. If such a powerful special-level curse spirit has allies, it should not be underestimated. Gojo Satoru increased the intensity of his steps, causing his head to deform, his eyes to pop, and he said impatiently. Speak quickly, or I will destroy you. Luahu spoke with difficulty. A-hole. I won't say it. Itadori, who was regaining consciousness on the side, didn't know what happened, but saw that the previously powerful curse spirit only had one head left. Wow. Is the vitality so strong that one head can actually speak fluently? Itadori just finished speaking. Boom. An oddly shaped white flower sticks straight into the ground. Why? Itadori and Gojo Satoru looked at the flower inserted into the ground in confusion at the same time. The next moment, a beautiful and warm atmosphere envelopes you, making you feel happy, as if you are falling into the warm embrace of your mother. As the flowers suddenly bloomed, a sea of flowers spread all over the mountains and fields in an instant. Gojo Satoru and Itadori's painting style suddenly changed, their eyes were slightly narrowed, and their expressions were extremely enjoyable. The two of them smiled foolishly, holding hands and spinning in circles happily. Wow, the flowers are blooming, hee hee. So beautiful. As everyone knows, Luohu's head has disappeared from where it was. Xia Liu reacted quickly and sighed in his heart. Yu's move should be considered an illusion, right? Snapped. Gojo Satoru slapped himself back to reality. This breath is a spell. A spell that can make people fall into a warm embrace and be unable to extricate themselves. Seeing Yu's escaping figure, Gojo Satoru decisively launched a false move. However, just when he was about to take action, Itadori was suddenly wrapped around his ankle by vines that sprouted from the ground, hanging halfway in the air, and smashed against the spikes on the ground. Tisk. Without any hesitation, Gojo Satoru cut off the vines and saved Itadori. Looking at the retreating figure, his expression condensed. Another unrecorded special class. It should be its accomplice. And the mantra aura on his body is equally powerful. It looks like the world of magic is going to be in turmoil. Forget it, go back and let Yi Goose investigate carefully. Let's go back, Xia Liu. Gojo Satoru and Itadori looked back at Natsuliu at the same time, and then their eyes widened. Question mark exclamation mark. You take gadgets with you when you go out. The two of them froze on the spot at the same time, looking at the big sniper in Xia Liu's hand in disbelief. The corners of Xia Liu's mouth curved slightly. Times have changed, and as a spellcaster, you must also keep pace with the times. After saying that, he squatted down and made a sniper posture. The direction is naturally the direction in which Yu escapes. At the same time, in the mountains and forests, Yu held Leahu's head in his hand and was running away with all his strength. Yu, I owe you a favor. Can you use your wood spirit to make me another pipe later? The loss this time was quite big. The pipe that had been following it for many years was actually broken by that kid. Yu, shut up. You burned down a lot of lovely vegetation in the battle just now. As the Minister of Horticulture, he is a little angry at the moment. It felt relieved that there was no breath chasing behind it. Sure enough, Su Nuo's container was obviously more important than Luohu's life. At this time, Luohu suddenly shouted, "Be careful." The two men's breathing was stagnant, and they looked shocked. They seemed to have sensed something. A cold feeling grew on Yu's back. It subconsciously controlled the spell, and countless vines intertwined to form a shield. Boom. The eardrums are ringing. A bullet with magical power rotated at high speed and pierced the wooden shield. At the same time, half of Yu's body was blown to pieces. Purple blood sprayed out. The large caliber magic bullets were embedded deeply in the rock wall. Fortunately, it protected Luohu's head at the moment of lightning. Otherwise, this shot would probably kill Leahu in his current state. Yu endured the pain, suppressed the panic in her heart, and continued to run away. It is a natural disaster-level curse spirit. As long as the head does not explode, these injuries can be repaired quickly. Just now, was that a gun made by humans? Is it fake? It's not like I haven't experienced it before. Ordinary guns can't break through its defense. With the strength of the 4 natural disasters, you can survive even if missiles come. But this shot actually knocked off half of his body. If it were a headshot, the consequences would be disastrous. The magic specialist actually still hides this kind of weapon. This important information must be told to Xia You and Genren. Chapter 49. Is there a second one in Prison Gate? I want to arrange it for Xia Liu too. Interesting for you. Selena Gomez posts powerful bikini then and now. More. 551. 138. 184. Call. Xia Liu exhaled and blew away the white smoke at the muzzle. As expected of the special cursed tool version of Barrett, half of Yu's body was broken with one shot. And there is no need to worry about bullets at all, because they are all generated by magic power. The only drawback is that the recoil is a bit strong, and an ordinary person would probably be blown away by the recoil. But there is one thing to say, through observing through the sniper scope, he found that, Yu, Moxaluo and Cursed Queen Lixiam, these three look a bit similar. Are they distant relatives? Itadori blinked. Hit. Shalu, well, it's a pity that the other party used his ability to protect his vital points, but half of his body was gone. Half of the body is gone. Is it so powerful? The other party is a special magic spirit. Gojo Satoru smiled bitterly and shook his head. Not only himself, but the escaped curse spirit probably never imagined that Shalu would directly take out a big sniper, right? He really couldn't see through this kid. He brought Itadori here specifically to increase his knowledge. But who knew that Shalu didn't follow the routine at all? With a glare, the opponent's territory was inexplicably broken. Itadori learned nothing, and the exciting duel he expected did not appear. Now it's even more outrageous, he actually took out a big sniper. Judging from Itadori's golden eyes, it was obvious that he was fascinated by the big sniper rifle. What's so fun about a big sniper? Is it as powerful as his virtual style? Is it so fierce? The next second, it smells delicious. Gojo Satoru put his hand on Shalu's shoulder and whispered, Ahem, Shalu, this sniper should be a special grade cursed tool, right? Can you lend it to me to play with? As for the origin of this gun, he didn't bother to pay attention. If Shalu didn't take the initiative to speak, he would naturally not ask too much. In a golden beach, the sea breeze blows on your face. Togen Realm. The real person was leisurely looking at a notebook, which was full of names of people and their information. These people are all man-made curse spirits he has created through inaction transformation in recent years. As if aware of it, he closed the book and looked sideways. You're back. Luahu looks very embarrassed. It seems that this time, it is the forest Yu that protects the earth Leahu. Shaluji looked at Luohu and smiled. Facing Wujao Satoru, it's already pretty good to be able to pick up a head. How do you feel? The areas you are proud of have become vulnerable in front of him, but there is no need to lose. After all, he is Gojo Satoru. Luohu, who was held in Yu's palm, sighed. Xia You, is there a second one in prison gate? I want to arrange it for Shalu too. As soon as these words came out, the three of them looked at Luohu doubtfully. Even the octopus head and Tuo-gen suddenly emerged from the sea, looking curiously at the people on the shore with their big round eyes. Shayuji, Luohu, do you want to see what you are saying? Leihu's face was extremely ugly. In the field, Gojo Satoru did not take action. My appearance is all caused by the look from that man named Shalu. What did you say? Hearing this, Shayuji, who had always been calm and composed, could not sit still, and the real person even ran over in disbelief. Then, Liuhu recounted everything that happened in the field. That's what happened. I thought it was Shalu who had only one head left, but the reality was that it was me. To this day, I still have lingering fears. Luohu looked dazed, and her mind was filled with those strange eyes. The scene fell silent. Is it really as scary as Luohu said? A look can change one's mind. It's too foul. After a long time, Shayuji touched Luohu's head. So, who do you think is the greater threat, him or Gojo Satoru? Luohu looked hesitant and didn't know how to answer for a moment. Judging from the reputation, Gojo Satoru is indeed more dangerous. At least they can't think of a way to crack the unlimited limit. But, this time it was really frightened by Shalu. A chamber pot is a chamber pot. From now on, it would rather fight Gojo Satoru than face Shalu. At least it can still die knowingly. Don't look at the calm looks of Xia Yuji and others, it's because they haven't experienced it personally. If I had been in their place at that time and was stared at by those eyes, I probably wouldn't have asked this question. Only those who have experienced it personally can know the horror of it. It even made him doubt for a while, is Six Eyes really the strongest in the world? Forget it. You decide for yourself. Luo who looked confused. The real person was surprised, the always fiery Lu who actually showed such a posture. It seems that this person named Xia Lu is not simple. Xia Yuji took out the prison gate in his hand and introduced, this object is the prison that the eminent monk Yuan Shin turned into after his death. There is only one eminent monk Yuan Shin, so the prison gate territory is also unique. So I prefer to use it on Gojo Satoru. After saying that, he couldn't help but sigh in his heart. I wanted to use this opportunity to let Leihu and the others have a deeper understanding of Gojo Satoru's strength. As a result, a summer stream exploded by accident. His calculations, which he had planned for thousands of years, seemed to be starting to go awry. Haha, things are getting more and more interesting. Sure enough, only the unknown can make people happy. The real person had an idea. Well, actually it's not impossible. The only thing that makes Xia Lu difficult to deal with is his eyes, and it seems that his only function is illusion. Our four major natural disasters are different from others. Even if we lose our eyes, it will not have a great impact on the battle. It's just like Yu, who has no eyes at all and has always relied on spell power to sense battles, right? Luo whose eyes lit up. You mean to fight Xia Lu with your eyes closed when you meet him in the future? Don't tell me. If he was in the field at that time, he would have learned the information in advance and avoided looking into his eyes. Will the result be reversed? Thinking about it this way, Luohu suddenly felt like he could do it again. Xia Yuji said with satisfaction, Well, this is a good idea, and the real person is getting smarter. When facing him again, we don't need to close our eyes. We just need to be careful not to look at him at all times. Let Yu hold Xia Liu down from now on. It just so happens that it has no eyes, so there is no need to worry about his illusions. The real person sighed. Xia You said that intelligence was particularly important before, but we didn't take it to heart. This time we have completely realized the importance. Hearing this, Xia Yu smiled happily. In this case, the prison gate area should be left to Gojo Satoru. The premise is that we must take advantage of the right time and place and make reasonable use of all advantages to have a chance to seal it. He narrowed his eyes slightly and said solemnly, the location is Shibuya, and the time is night. College dormitory. Xia Liu fell into deep thought. Judging from Liao Hu's expression before, she must have been frightened by the illusion. After going back, I will definitely discuss countermeasures with Xia Yu and the others, so as to take myself seriously. Your trump card will continue to increase as you complete tasks. So, what about giving them information about Genjutsu? Moreover, given the importance Xia Yu attaches to Gojo Satoru, prison gate territory should not fall on him. Open the system panel. The tasks of angrily blaming the higher-ups and regarding the leak have been completed. The next step is to deal with Yoshino Junpei. Hashirama cells are about to be obtained, and Junpei can also be recruited to join the Akatsuki organization. By then, the eternal kaleidoscope and Hashirama cells will be available at the same time. Simply kill two birds with one stone. The Shibuya Incident will also start after the sister exchange meeting ends. At that time, with Hashirama cells and eternal kaleidoscope, I will be completely worry-free. In this regard, Xia Liu wanted to say to Naohua and the others, come to the Shibuya Grand Stage if you have the destiny. Chapter 50. What type of woman do you like? Selena Gomez posts powerful bikini then and now. More. 205. 51. 68. A small forest inside a university. Three delinquent boys in school uniforms cornered a thin boy with long hair covering his eyes. That's him. He keeps staring at other people's breasts with his obscene eyes. It's so disgusting. Three brothers, help me teach him well. Boom. Junpei Yoshino was knocked to the ground by a punch and his left eye was bruised. Ha ha ha. Yisha's pet bear is indeed very interesting, and he looks very dazzling when he walks. But it's not something a kid like you can see. The three bad boys rolled up their sleeves and punched and kicked him again. Yoshino Junpei did not resist, nor did he have the ability to resist. In school, this kind of bullying has long been a common occurrence for him, but it does not mean that he has no resentment in his heart. It was already hard for his mother to raise him alone. Junpei didn't want to worry her anymore, so he didn't tell his parents. A coward, a wretched man without a father, a disgusting fellow. Junpei curled up on the ground, protecting his head with his hands, and his ears were full of venomous words. The right eye covered by his long hair is a scar left after being burned by a classmate with a cigarette butt. Growing up in a single-parent family, he is introverted and indifferent. He is a transparent person in school and is the target of bullying and fun by the school bullies. Fortunately, the three people who beat him did not insult his mother, otherwise Junpei would not hesitate to fight with him. Unknowingly, he couldn't feel the pain anymore, and instead his eyes were blood red. Years of repression gave rise to an incomparable desire for power in his heart at this moment. After a while, the attacker had left, and Junpei sat on the ground with dull eyes. Tonight, let's watch Earthworm 3. In the early morning, the weather is getting hotter. In the training ground, Dwang, an iron nail attached with blue magic power instantly penetrated into the corpse of the puppet in front of him. Hairpin. With a sharp shout, the cursed body exploded instantly. Kugisaki Wild Rose looks happy. Awesome. Why didn't I think of this method of compressing the magic power? In the past, she only attached the magic power to the surface of the nail to increase its speed and power as much as possible. However, the size of the nail is too small, resulting in a small area where the magic power is attached. Now, after learning the Xia Liu sect's method of compressing mantra power, the power has been greatly improved. She suppressed the joy in her heart and cast a grateful look at Xia Liu lying under the tree. Unexpectedly, this guy turned out to be quite reliable after becoming a teacher. Fushiguro, who was learning to compress the power of the spell, felt itchy. Although his main attack method is to summon Shikigami, if he can become stronger, why not learn from it? I don't know what was in Xia Liu's head that he was able to develop a training method to compress the magic power. I really admire it. Come on, Fushiguro-san. Xia Liu encouraged him and then closed his eyes. Since coming back, Gojo Satoru has been pestering him, hoping to teach the students how to make meatballs. However, he believes that the compression spell in the Rasengan can be learned, but rolling the balls is not suitable for everyone. For example, there is no need for Rose Kugisaki who possesses the cultivation charm to make balls. Wouldn't it be nice to directly compress the magic power to further enhance the damage of the nails? As a result, the upper limit of hairpin is directly increased infinitely. How strong it can be depends on how much she can compress the spell power in a short period of time. Sister Kui, let's just stick to using the hammer. Calculating the time, Yoshino Junpei's side should be soon, but the specific time cannot be confirmed. Fortunately, the shadow clone he sent has found Junpei. Once the real person Lezi appears, he will start to brainwash Junpei. The shadow clone will automatically disappear and leave the coordinates, and it can also share the memory with the main body. At that time, he directly transmitted his divine power and taught the real person how to behave. While Xia Liu was thinking, a man and a woman came to the door, menacingly, with a bit of contempt in their eyes. The man was Dongtang, with a tall and muscular figure, and every inch of his muscle seemed to contain explosive power. The woman is wearing a black cheongsam and has a slim figure, somewhat similar to Maki. Xia Liu immediately remembered that this girl was the sister of Zenuan Mai. Maki. If I remember correctly, there was probably going to be a fight, which could be considered a test before the exchange meeting. However, the actions of the two people exceeded Xia Liu's expectations. I saw that Dong and the two just looked at Kugizaki and Fushiguro with disdain, and walked straight in the direction where he was. Fu Anming said something bad. With the temperaments of these two seniors, they must have heard about Xia Liu's deeds. The bellicose Dongtang senior probably came to Xia Liu for discussion. What he was worried about was not Xia Liu, but these two seniors. Isn't fighting with Xia Liu looking for a beating? Fushiguro Megumi reminded, Senior Mai, I advise you not to mess with him. Kugizaki Wild Rose crossed her arms and looked like she was watching a good show. Okay Fushiguro, I have heard about his deeds. You actually said that his talent may exceed that of Okatsu back then. I want to see what this person is capable of. Dongtang walked up to Xia Liu and looked down at Xia Liu. Hey, you must be Xia Liu. What is your favorite type of woman? As soon as these words came out, the tense atmosphere instantly shattered. Why? Fushiguro, Kugasaki, and Maki twitched their mouths, and there were 3 big question marks above their heads. No, buddy, you are so angry and tense, and you end up saying this. How about playing? Dongtang was extremely serious and urged, answer quickly. This question is very important to me. Men are okay too. Good guy, the classic saying, curse back, appeared, and it fell on me. As for what type of woman you like, that's too much. He looked at Dongtang's extremely expectant eyes and said seriously. Since you ask sincerely, I will tell you with great mercy, in order to prevent the world from being destroyed and to protect the peace of the magic world. Speaking of this, Xia Liu paused, causing everyone to look at him. Dongtang clenched his fists and said with trembling excitement, so, what is your favorite type? Xia Liu said seriously, sister in black stockings, Lolita in white stockings, mature young woman, it will be inconvenient to give examples later. As soon as these words came out, everyone was dumbfounded. Does this guy like such a wide range of types? Forget it about Sister You and Loli, but don't even spare the young woman. There are so many people, why can't you be more restrained? Ah, shut up. Dongtang, who was stunned for a moment, suddenly went crazy and shouted, holding his head and shouting, with tears streaming down his resolute face. He stared at Xia Liu with extremely disappointed eyes. The macho man sheds tears. Xia Liu was speechless. Didn't he just mention a few of his favorite types? As for such a big reaction. Your hobbies are actually so non-specific. After saying that, Dongtang suddenly stepped forward and punched Xia Liu in the face with his fist as big as a sandbag. Snapped. Xia Liu easily blocked his fist and locked it in his hand. Just when Dongtang was about to launch another attack, Xia Liu's eyes narrowed slightly and his red light flashed. Dongtang's body stiffened instantly, his eyes were blurred, and his pupils were trembling. After a few seconds, he suddenly pulled away and retreated. Panting heavily, he looked at Xia Liu with great horror. In just a few seconds, the suffocating feeling of drowning and the gnawing feeling of countless ants swept through his body, almost destroying his will. I never want to experience this feeling again in my life. Did he show mercy just now? Xia Liu came to his side and said calmly, go and ask Itadori, maybe his answer will satisfy you. Dongtang swallowed and nodded obediently. Seeing this scene, Chanyuanmai was dumbfounded. What happened? Did she read it right? Dongtang, who had never even looked down upon the principle of Layan Temple, could actually be so obedient. Zenuanmai came forward with doubts in her eyes. Dongtang, what are you doing? Why did you suddenly get scared? Shish. Suppress your words. Let's go. He turned around and left, regardless of whether the Chanyuanmai followed or not. Chanyuanmai frowned slightly, looked deeply at Xia Liu, and left with the East Hall. As for Fushiguro Megumi and Kugizaki Rose, they were not too surprised. After all, they knew the terror in Xia Liu's eyes. Kugasaki, by the way, Natsuliu, how do you know that Itadori's answer will satisfy that big guy? The two looked at Xia Liu with doubtful eyes. Yes. After saying that, I secretly added it in my mind, which is weird. As for the reason, it must be Itadori's domain, we are all brothers within the 4 seas. Dongtang is about to become his brother, as well as the future accountant Oni-chan, and even Susanoo has something to do with him. The most outrageous thing is that the villain Brainiac is actually Itadori's mother. In other words, Itadori's father was so stupid back then. One word, absolutely. So, in the spell return, who else has a stronger relationship than Itadori? Suddenly, Xia Liu's expression suddenly changed. You guys keep practicing, I have something to do. After he finished speaking, the space vortex appeared behind him and disappeared instantly. Just now, the shadow clone scent was automatically released, leaving behind coordinates and related memories. Yoshino Junpei is about to meet Rakuko. Looking at the place where Xia Liu disappeared, the two couldn't help but complain. Mysterious guy. Chapter 51 Without you, do you long for power? Inside an old cinema, Earthworm 3 is currently on the air. Perhaps the subject matter was too tasteful and the visual impact was too strong, resulting in very few viewers. 3 corpses with rotting bodies, completely out of the human category, stood stiffly in place. They still retain a look of horror, as if they have experienced something extremely terrifying. Yoshino Junpei looked at the three people who died tragically in front of him in disbelief. Although they were completely unrecognizable, he recognized the three corpses at a glance as those of the delinquent boys who beat him that morning. A feeling of joy flashed through my heart. Is this possible for a human to do? Suddenly, a blue-haired man with a pale face and full of sutures appeared in his mind. Just now, these three people were shouting and making a fuss in the cinema, and the blue-haired man walked up to communicate with them. Then, something like this appeared. He did all this. Just by touching him, he killed three bad boys who had bullied him for a long time. Thinking of this, not only did he not have any fear, but he was filled with a desire for power. I'm going to find him. Junpei Yoshino didn't hesitate at all and ran to catch up. At night, in a deserted alley. Please wait. Kukino Junpei stopped and looked at Misato's back panting. Were you the one who did those things just now, right? The corners of the real man's mouth raised and he looked sideways. So what if I did it? Shouldn't those people die? Or are they important to you and you want revenge? After saying that, his forearm changed and formed a sharp bone knife. Junpei Yoshino was the person he focused on during this period. What if the tragic experience, bullying by classmates, and the tragic death of the mother are added to it? When all kinds of negative emotions accumulate together, what kind of curse will it create? At worst, it can also become a good experimental material. Shunping's mouth and chin were slightly open, his eyes completely attracted by the bone knife. So powerful. If I could acquire abilities like his, who would dare to bully me? No one dares to sneer at their mother anymore. I can become as strong as you. Before he finished speaking, the dark wall space next to him fluctuated, a vortex appeared, and Xia Liu walked out. The real person's pupils shrank and he closed his eyes tightly without hesitation. Can't go wrong. This person is Xia Liu. Since the last coral leakage incident, Yu used magic power to simulate his appearance, so he recognized this person at a glance. Hey, don't be so nervous. Xia Liu looked at the real person with interest. Unexpectedly, the other party was quite decisive and chose to close his eyes as soon as he saw him. The real person closed his eyes tightly and smiled calmly. Your ability is really weird, so it's better to be careful. This was information that Luo who had lost half his life in exchange for, so of course he had to take it seriously. Although he also wanted to have a fight with Xia Liu, this was an urban area, and the three people who died in the movie theater just now should be discovered soon. By then, the police and magicians will come. So, let's leave the opportunity to Shibuya. However, Xia Liu's appearance did not delay him from completing his plan, he just needed to act in advance. In the past few days, Yoshino Junpei's home address has been completely discovered by him. All he had to do was hide Susanoo's fingers quietly in his home. He couldn't wait to see Yoshino Jun's desperate expression. The real person's brain was running rapidly and he made a choice immediately. Bye. The real person waved his hand mischievously, his body squirmed and turned into an insect shape, and he dived into the ground to escape. Camaway. The space on the ground was distorted, gravel exploded, and a twisted tail fell to the ground, twitching continuously. He ran really fast. It has to be said that Genren's combat power may not be the strongest among the four major natural disasters. But it is definitely the hardest to kill. During combat, he can change his body shape on his own and change the position of important organs at will. This allows you to move vital parts in a timely manner in critical moments to avoid fatal attacks. On the contrary, Kugizaki Wild Rose's cultivation Soul Curse resonance can restrain the real person's ability. Once the nail is driven into the target's body, it can directly touch the soul level and cause damage. You, who are you? Junping couldn't help but take 2 steps back and looked at Xia Liu warily. This person seems to be stronger, I couldn't even see how he launched the attack just now. If it is to kill. Xia Liu turned around and approached him, chuckled and said, young man, do you long for power? Xia Liu spent about 10 minutes giving him a general introduction to the world of magic. Curse, cursor, cursor. Junpei lowered his head and muttered to himself. He received too much information at once and couldn't calm down. It turns out that this world is so interesting and dangerous. Junping had no doubts about Xia Liu's series of words just now. After all, with his strength, there is no difference between killing himself and squeezing an ant to death. There is no need to waste time with him. Besides, haven't we seen these supernatural phenomena with our own eyes? Xia Liu leaned against the wall, silently waiting for his answer. Of course, if the soft one doesn't work, just go for the hard one. The world is vast, and the system's rewards are the greatest. I promise you to become a conjurer and serve as a member of the Akatsuki. Now that I know the other side of this world, I don't want to be an ant who doesn't even have the power to protect myself. Besides, my mother has raised me alone for so many years, and it's my turn to protect her. Yoshino Junpei clenched his fists and his eyes were determined as if he wanted to join the party. Xia Liu's mouth curved slightly. Then, on behalf of the Xiao organization, I welcome you to join. Put your hand out. Yoshino Junpei didn't know that Xia Liu suddenly asked him to reach out his hand, but he still obeyed him honestly. You should be able to notice a vague force appearing in your body recently, right? That is the so-called magic power. Now I will guide you to mobilize the magic power. Yoshino Junpei followed the instructions seriously, and soon, a spell that looked like a flame appeared in his hand. Then, Xia Liu asked him to try it several times on his own initiative. Success. I succeeded. After many failures, Yoshino Junpei finally succeeded in mobilizing the power of the curse independently. Looking at Junpei's extremely excited expression, Shalo nodded slightly. The mission of the Akatsuki organization is to recruit conjurers to join Akatsuki. Now Junpei, who can mobilize the power of magic on his own, is qualified to join the magic college, so he can naturally be regarded as a magician. Even if the strength is not enough, it should be no problem to be an auxiliary supervisor. Dang. Now, take me to see your mother. Ah, brother Shalo, are you coming to my house as a guest? My mother is a good cook. Shalo, no, it's to save your mother's life. In the original work, it was the real person who quietly placed Susanoo's finger in Junpei's home. As a result, a cursed spirit was summoned, and Junpei's mother, who was alone at home, was killed as a result. Since the last task is to save Junpei's miserable life, it is natural that the important factor of his mother must be taken into consideration. Moreover, his other shadow clone that was guarding near Junpei's house just now discovered traces of the real person. Did Masato, the deadbeat guy, know that Junpei was out of luck, so he launched his plan in advance? Hearing this, Junpei looked horrified, as if the sky was falling. You mean my mother is in danger? Chapter 52 The Cunning Real Person. Interesting for you. Selena Gomez posts powerful bikini then and now. More. 405. 101. 135. Yes, the man with sutures all over his face just now has been paying attention to you for a long time. He has investigated everything about your experience and family situation. Junpei Yoshino showed fear and realized, the purpose is to completely detonate the negative emotions in my body and turn it into a cursed spirit for him to drive. Through Shalu's introduction just now, he already knew the general ability of the real person. In other words, the scene in the movie theater was deliberately made for yourself by real people. He knew that he had been subjected to school violence for a long time, and he must have an extremely longing for strength in his heart. Thinking of this, Junpei broke out in a cold sweat, if Xia Liu hadn't appeared in time. I am afraid that I will fall into the endless abyss. Xia nodded. If he hadn't intervened, the real person's operation might have been even more disgusting. He would put Susanoo's finger into Junpei's home to attract the cursed spirit to kill his mother, thereby framing the blame on his classmates who bullied him. The blackened Junpei will confront Itadori. The image of wearing a high school uniform will remain in fantasy. In the end, Junpei also regretfully dissipated in the flow of betrayal and despair. Smooth and smooth, not smooth at all. Junpei's anxious tears were about to flow out. Brother Shalo, let's leave quickly. Shalo, hold on to my shoulders. Junpei, who trusted Shalo immensely, immediately complied. A vortex in space appeared, and the two disappeared on the spot. Say the same thing. A small but warm room. A beautiful woman with a pretty face and short wavy hair was sleeping soundly on the dining table. The dining table was filled with already prepared dinner, waiting for his son's return. Little did he know that in an inconspicuous corner, there was an air-dried finger that had torn open the ceiling cloth. The black energy containing the power of the curse is emitted, and it will surely attract the cursed spirit soon. The real person hiding outside the door grinned evilly. Beautiful things are meant to be destroyed. If the only light in Junpei's heart is lost, it will surely give rise to unimaginable curse power, right? Although I don't know why Shalo suddenly appeared and disrupted his plan. But do you think this will stop him? Instead, it precipitated the tragedy. Ha ha ha. Junpei, go hate this world, and the magicians with you. After doing all this, the real person disappeared into the dark corner. At the dining table, the sleeping beautiful woman frowned slightly and seemed to have difficulty breathing. Behind her, the curse was thick with black energy, and a ferocious-looking curse spirit appeared. Human delicacies. A strong sense of death arose in her heart, and the beautiful woman suddenly woke up with a cold feeling on her back. Looking back, he saw an extremely terrifying scene. Ah! At this moment, the whirlpool appeared and two figures walked out. Camaway. The space was distorted, and the head of the cursed spirit was twisted off. Thump. The headless body fell down, and after a few struggles, it stopped moving. The flames burned, burning the bodies on the ground to ashes. Shalo used Fei Leisheng's perception technique and quickly found Susanoo's fingers hidden in the corner. And put your fingers into the divine space. After doing all this, he looked at Junpei's mother, who was still in shock, and comforted her softly. Auntie, it's okay. Junpei. Mom. The beautiful woman looked blankly at the corpse of the cursed spirit on the ground, and then at Shalo, who was smiling. What is going on? What is the ground monster? Also, is the handsome boy standing next to his son the superpower in the movie? Thank you. Although she was constantly shocked by her worldview, she still bowed and thanked her savior immediately. After Junpei helped her onto the stool, he looked at Shalo with great gratitude. If it weren't for him, his mother might have met with something unexpected. Moreover, he also taught himself to use spells and gained the ability to protect himself. Such a kindness may never be repaid in a lifetime. Shalo injected a gentle chakra into the beautiful woman's body, which helped to calm her frightened mind. By the way, the mark of the flying thunder god was also left on his neck. Shalo, Junpei, come out with me for a moment. Okay. In the corridor, Shalo patted Junpei on the shoulder and looked at a dark corner of the corridor. Come out. After all, you are also a special grade curse spirit. Being a mouse is too cheap, right? Junpei on the side was stunned for a moment, and then he immediately guessed something. Could it be that? Bang, bang, bang. I saw the real person closing his eyes tightly, applauding and walking out, showing a harmless smile. Your Excellency Xia Liu is really a roundworm in my stomach. He actually guessed my plan. But I'm confused about one thing. How did you discover my existence? The real person is very curious about this. It doesn't matter if the plan is discovered, but his secret is also easily discovered. Could it be that his perception is far superior to mine? Xia Liu smiled disdainfully. Not to mention the meticulous observation ability of the Mangekyo Sharingan, which makes any weak fluctuation of spell power unable to escape these eyes. Just with Flying Thunder God's perception skills, the real person has nowhere to hide. Moreover, he could also see that this real person was not the real person, but just a clone. Xia Liu's current Flying Thunder God's perception technique can cover almost the entire neighborhood here. But the location of Zhenren's body was still not found. Then there is only one possibility. The real person is hiding very far away, beyond the range of perception. I have to say, this is the real sixth person. No comment. As soon as he finished speaking, the space behind the real person's head was distorted. The crisis of death surged into his mind, and the real person had no time to think about it, so he ran away. Boom. Half of the head was directly crushed by the distortion of space, and blood flowed violently. The real person covered his head and stared at Xia Liu in great horror. What kind of ability is this? I couldn't detect the fluctuation of the mantra at all. It's the eyes. It's his weird eyes again. If he hadn't been one of the 4 major natural disasters and had a strong intuition for avoiding death, he might have died. I'm about to activate the illusion. Xia Liu's frivolous tone fell into his ears, and the real person closed his eyes suddenly. He clenched his fists tightly, his nails digging into his flesh. Damn it. To be humiliated like this. The other party is playing with himself like a child. The real person suppressed the anger in his heart. It seems that the last leak failed to bring out all the capabilities of this guy. In addition to illusion, he also has the ability to manipulate space. This guy is far more terrifying than imagined. This trip was worthwhile, and we gained another piece of important information. As a clone, even if it is blown into powder, the memory can be transferred to the main body. Because he evolved from a real person's soul and is closely connected with the main soul. But precisely because of this, he decided to find an opportunity to escape. Once he dies, his soul will be damaged, and his body will naturally suffer backlash. Haha, Your Excellency is really secretive, so I won't accompany you. However, as soon as he finished speaking, Xia Liu's figure suddenly disappeared from sight. Immediately afterwards, a pair of big hands locked the real man's head like iron pliers. Phew. A whirlpool appeared and the two of them disappeared. Jun Ping froze on the spot and sighed. Okay, so fast. Brother Xia Liu, is he really just a first-level magician? In the previous introduction, he once said that Zhenren is one of the most powerful curse spirits in the special level. But when I saw it just now, it was just a slap in the face. You must also become stronger. While protecting your mother, you must also provide value to Brother Xia Liu. At least, it cannot be a burden to him. In the divine space. The real person's limbs were nailed to death and he was forced to crawl on the ground. Xia Liu was on a high platform, looking down at him. I didn't expect that your clone is quite real. Hearing this, the real person's pupils shrank sharply, and he looked up in horror at Xia Liu, who had a joking look on his face. Chapter 53 Tsukuyomi, this is the way to open up the fun. Interesting for you. The 7 most famous plus-size models in the world. More. 197. 49. 66. This, how did this guy know? Although he is a clone, except for the difference in strength, there is almost no difference from the original body. But even so, he was still seen through at a glance. Also, where is this strange space? Why can't I feel the slightest bit of magic? It's like I'm completely isolated from the real world. It wasn't until this moment that he realized how terrifying the man in front of him was. No wonder since the last battle, 2 of Luohu's 3 sentences cannot be separated from Xia Liu. At first, he just thought that Luohu was just shadowed by Xia Liu's illusion. Now that you know how to deal with it, there is no need to pay so much attention to it, and you should focus on Gojo Satoru. But now it seems that they were all wrong. This person's methods are probably far beyond their imagination. The real person who recognized the reality asked, is this your domain? As a clone, he knew that he had completely lost the chance to return to his original body. This question is just to satisfy my curiosity before death. Field, you think so? There is some truth in what a real person said. In this divine power space, there is no so-called spell power, and all spells cannot be cast here. However, there are no restrictions on ninjutsu, which is considered half of the realm. In other words, I am the absolute king of this divine space. Even if you don't do anything yourself, you can starve the other person to death. Of course, the premise is that people can be pulled into the divine space. The real person stared at Xia Liu. If he were in the outside world, he could also activate the magic power to explode directly. But in this space, he could do nothing but wait for the other party to lower the butcher's knife. Suddenly, the real person laughed like crazy. Ha ha ha, so what if you kill me? I'm just a clone. Everything I see after death will still be transmitted to the main body. Your space distortion ability, as well as this independent space field, will be exposed. Xia Liu slowly came to him, as if looking at a fool, and said calmly. So, do you think I didn't kill you directly, but instead pulled you into this space? Although he doesn't know whether the clone of the real person is the same as the shadow clone, it can share memories with the main body even if it dies. Therefore, just in case, it is better to brainwash. Hearing this, Genren's body trembled, and he had a bad premonition. You, what do you want to do? If I guessed correctly, you are not an ordinary clone, but a ray of soul attached to the original body, so your words and deeds are so lifelike. The real person's breathing stagnated, and he suppressed the shock in his heart. Even if you can see through one's own clone at a glance, you actually know a ray of soul hidden deep inside. No, there is absolutely no way it can be seen through those eyes. Why does he know so much about himself? Is it the information provided by the high specialist? No. With the intelligence capabilities of a specialist, the most we can analyze is that they are the incarnations of the 4 major natural disasters. It is absolutely impossible to achieve such a subtle level. In fact, Natsuliu's Sharingan is indeed unable to see through the soul of this clone. But, he has read the script. During the Shibuya Incident, a clone created by the real person was suppressed by Kugisaki Wild Rose. The resonance of Kugisaki Rose can directly hit the soul and hurt the true body, so it brings great help to Itadori. Therefore, he speculated that the clone of the real person might be attached to and connected to the soul of the real person. You, so what if you know? The real person said calmly. Haha, don't you already have the answer in your mind about what I will do? Shalo leaned close to Genren's ear and whispered. Let me tell you quietly, the illusion your partner had last time was just a low-end version. Low profile. The real person's eyes widened and he secretly said something bad. Immediately afterwards, Shalo opened his closed eyelids very roughly and forced him to look into the Sharingan. Tsukuyomi. The real person's consciousness was scattered, and his vision went dark. When he opened his eyes again, he found that he was tied to a cross, the sky was blood red, and countless crows were passing by. Immediately afterwards, countless clones of Shalo held sharp swords and pierced his body mercilessly. The screams are endless. 3 seconds passed in reality, but the real person was tortured for 3 whole days and nights. During this period, Shalo also used illusions to erase all information about his abilities. However, this is just in case, and can even be said to be redundant. Because, after these 3 days of torture, the soul of Genren's clone has completely collapsed. To put it simply, he becomes a fool. Not only is it unable to provide any effective information to the main body, but it will also share all the happiness experienced in the past 3 days. This is the correct way to treat lazy Genren. Phew. The whirlpool appeared, and Shalo returned to the corridor. Junpei ran over quickly, looking at the whirlpool behind him, but hesitated to speak. The corners of Shalo's mouth rose. Don't look at it, he died very happily. It's a pity, it's just a clone. Junpei thanked him, but a trace of worry flashed in his eyes. Is it just the clone that died? ... At the same time, in a dark alley. The real person holds a notebook and puts a big check mark on Yoshino Junpei's name with a pen. There was a sinister smile on his lips. Counting the time, Junpei's mother must have been killed by the cursed spirit, right? I believe my clone should be arriving soon. Thinking of this, he stretched with a look of enjoyment. I wonder what kind of expression Junpei would show when he saw his mother who died tragically. Despair, fear, anger, or is it a cursed spirit that directly transforms into a bloodthirsty madman? No matter which one, he is extremely looking forward to it. Just when Genren was making up his mind, a heart-wrenching pain suddenly came through his mind. Ah! The real person's painful fingers were tightly clasped on his scalp, his eyes were bloodshot, and his tears and saliva could not stop flowing out. This kind of pain is unusual, it comes from the depths of the soul. The real man was rolling all over the ground like crazy. If Shalo saw this scene, he would definitely sigh. Isn't this the scene when Wukong was chanted the tightening curse? At this moment, Genren felt as if his soul was being minced repeatedly by a meat grinder. At the same time, I was extremely confused. What on earth happened? Why is there no scene at all about the tragic death of Junpei's mother? The memories transmitted back are completely broken. There is no valid information at all. Could it be that all this is Shalo? However, the severe pain did not allow him to continue thinking. Soon, he was foaming at the mouth and fainted to the ground. This is not to blame for the weak willpower of real people. After all, this is all the happiness that the clone suffered during the 3 days of Tsukuyomi in one fell swoop. Inside the house, the lights were bright, and the 3 people at the dining table were talking and laughing. Well, Aunt Yoshino Naji's craftsmanship is really good. Shalo praised from the bottom of his heart. This must be what his mother feels like, right? Growing up in an orphanage, he had never eaten such a heartwarming meal. Perhaps the beautiful atmosphere is a plus for these dishes. It gives me a great sense of accomplishment to be praised by our great benefactor. The beautiful woman held her chin with one hand and looked at Shalo with a smile. Her face was slightly red because of drinking. She was also happy to see that her son, who had been introverted since childhood, could make such a good big brother. Junpei has also found a friend of his own. Moreover, it seems to be out of the scope of ordinary people, and I am proud of it as a mother. Before that, Shalo didn't hide anything from her and told her the other side of the world and Junpei's situation. I thought Junpei's mother would find it difficult to accept it for a while. But now it seems that he underestimated her ability to bear it. This is in line with her carefree character in the original work. However, the trace of sadness hidden between their eyebrows obviously could not escape Shalo's eyes. Needless to say, we are all worried that the real person will come back. He put down his bowls and chopsticks and comforted him, no need to worry. If the other party's plan is discovered, there is a high probability that he will not cause trouble again. Besides, I have left a mark on your home. If there is any danger, I can arrive instantly. If you are really worried, you can move to a college. After all, he is also a teacher at a high school, and Junpei is about to join a high school. I believe Masamiki can definitely agree to this small request. This is also the safest method. Junpei, Mom, listen to brother Shalu. Let's move to a high school. There are no people worth remembering here anyway. They will only make sarcastic comments. Yoshino Nagi looked stunned and hesitated. She naturally knew that Junpei was referring to those nearby neighbors. Because of their single-parent family, mother and son have always been unwelcome, and she doesn't care what the neighbors say behind their backs. It was only now that she suddenly realized that she could not care about those gossips, but she ignored her son's feelings. Thinking of this, she suddenly stood up and bowed deeply to Shalu. I have received such a favor from you, and I really don't know how to repay it. I can only. College of Conjuration. Shalu roughly described the encounter between Shun Ping and his son as Yi Goose Masamiki, and at his moment of hesitation, he took out Sunuo's finger. Therefore, Yego Masamiki immediately arranged the residence of Shunpei mother and son that night, and his attitude must be as good as possible. After saying goodbye to Junpei and his son and returning to the dormitory, he couldn't wait to turn on the system. Long-term mission. The higher-ups of the conjurers are corrupt and refuse to work for them. Please create the Akatsuki organization and invite conjurers to join. Progress. 3/3 completed. Reward. Eternal Kaleidoscope. Close black lens bracket. Just when I was about to receive the reward, another reminder came in my mind. Ding. Congratulations to the host for completing the mission. Hashirama cells are being distributed. Chapter 54 Shalu's Choice. Interesting for you. Selena Gomez posts powerful bikini then and now. More. 848. 212. 283. Shalu was so excited that he immediately sat up straight. The eternal kaleidoscope he had been dreaming of finally got it. Receive. As the words fell, I felt that my pupils were trembling crazily, and the cells of the Sharingan seemed to be transforming. Along with the stinging pain like needles, hot tears fell on the palm of my hand. Hiss. Shalu breathed quickly, closed his eyes quickly, and covered his eyes with both hands. This feeling is somewhat similar to getting a kaleidoscope for the first time, except that it has greater stamina and lasts longer. A full half-hour passed. The pain has disappeared, replaced by an extremely comfortable warmth. He slowly opened his eyes, and dazzling blood flashed. It was already night and the surroundings were pitch black, but now he could clearly see every corner of the room. Even outside the window, the lines on every leaf can be seen extremely clearly. Is this the eternal kaleidoscope? The most intuitive feeling is the further improvement of observation ability. But he knew it was much more than that. The biggest difference between eternal kaleidoscope and kaleidoscope is the side effects and abilities. The side effects of eternal kaleidoscope are almost zero, and you no longer need to worry about becoming blind due to overuse of your eyes. Moreover, Shalu can clearly feel that this transformation of his eyes has brought him a new ability. Amaterasu. The black flame is said to never go out. Once an enemy is ignited by Amaterasu, they will either have their limbs amputated decisively or be burned alive. Although in Naruto, no one has ever been burned to death, except by Zetsu. You can know this through this encounter with a real person. They are very cautious when facing themselves. The real person kept his eyes closed the whole time and fought with himself, not giving himself a chance to perform illusions at all. Now he has another trump card, Amaterasu. Shalu smiled evilly in his heart. Unknown information has been born again. Who among the 4 natural disasters will come to explore it next time? Let's explore, and don't say anything. Not only that, after evolving into the eternal kaleidoscope, the 3rd and even 4th stages of Susanoo can be opened. As for the complete Susanoo, you need to develop the kaleidoscope to the extreme and have a huge amount of chakra to activate it. Shalu already has the former, and as for the latter. He looked at the needle and test tube containing golden blood in his hand, and twitched the corner of his mouth. It seems that the test tube medicine contains Hashirama cells. The most outrageous thing is its note, concentrated perfect native Hashirama cells. Life and death are destiny, wealth is in heaven. Use with caution. Can't the system directly deliver the goods? He is very aware of the risks of transplanting Hashirama cells, which can be said to be a narrow escape. For most people, at the moment of injection, they may not be able to withstand such strong power and die suddenly, reunited with Tainai. After all, with the powerful vitality of Hashirama cells, the moment they come into contact with blood, they will turn into deadly poison. Blood vessels burst, internal organs are overwhelmed, and the body collapses leading to death. It is lucky. What scares me the most is that because my body is strong, I don't die instantly, so I suffer continuous torture, but in the end I fail. Therefore, without a strong body and will, it is tantamount to courting death. With his current physical strength, he can barely open the injury door in the 8-gate Dunjia, but the side effects will be serious later. Looking at it this way, it may be a bit difficult to withstand the extremely powerful power of Hashirama cells. Shalu put away the potion and lowered his head in thought. In other words, when I came to this world, I have always been very steady, only doing the safest things and never taking a gamble. But is there any reason not to use the Hashirama cells that I spent so much effort to obtain? He decided to take a gamble. As the saying goes, a bicycle becomes a motorcycle. He never wanted to experience Quellen's emptiness again. You can gamble, but the risk must be minimized as much as possible. Although I can't do it like betting on a dog scale, after opening the field sitting and killing master, I can gain unlimited spell power, and fully automatic operation of the reversal technique, frantically repairing body injuries to achieve the effect of almost immortality. But he can shake people up. Soon, Shoko's beautiful face came to mind, and her reverse curse technique had a very good effect on others. If you convince her to help, the success rate of fusing Hashirama's cells will definitely increase. But considering that Shoko will have insufficient magic power, new help is needed. This reminded Natsuliu of Utahime, who wore a red and white Miko costume with a bow tied behind her head. If Shoko is the strongest nanny in the magic world, then Utahime is definitely the strongest support. Her unique technique, Separate Zone. It can increase the total amount of spell power of people within the range of the spell, including yourself. If Utahime can continue to provide Shoko with a boost, Shoko can continue to provide milk for himself. Then the probability of success will increase again. As for the remaining risks, you can only leave them to your own willpower and physical strength. Other than that, he couldn't think of anyone whose technique could help him for the time being. Just in case, you need to ask someone you can absolutely trust to protect you. For example, Mei Mei, I know her depth, and she also knows her own strengths and weaknesses, and is worthy of trust. He thought about going to Shinwei space for injection. After all, it was absolutely safe there and there was no need to worry about being disturbed. However, considering that there is no magic power in the Kamui space, Shoko and Utime cannot be replenished, so they are passed directly. How about just occupying Tianyuan's home? After all, it's considered safe there and no one will disturb him. Anyway, this old guy had screwed up 99 UG in the later period, and Shalu would not feel the slightest regret in his heart. But after thinking about it, let it go. Tianyuan's strength is unknown, and a fight might cause a big fuss. Just when he was struggling, the system prompt came again in his mind. Ding. Trigger life choices. Mission choice 1. I am the natural disaster. At the sister exchange meeting, use fire escape to crush the leaky coral, wood escape to insert flower control, and water escape to drown Tuo General. Reward. Samsara Eye. Close black lens bracket. Task choice 2. King Go. What is the difference between having such a low success rate and dying? Give up merging Hashirama cells. Reward. 1 card of chakra. Close black lens bracket. Task choice 3. Betting on dogs. How can a child cry every day, and how can a gambler lose every day? Please fuse Hashirama cells alone. Reward. Domain. Kill the master while sitting down. Looking at the 3 task choices in front of him, Shalu really gave up the third one. Betting on dogs, betting until you lose everything in the end, and fusing Hashirama cells alone even when you know you can seek help to reduce the risk. That is no longer gambling on dogs, but a reckless man. No, he's a fool. Although it is powerful to kill Botu by sitting down, it is not very attractive to him. As for the second task, ask him to give up fusion. And the reward is so little. 1 card of chakra, what about sending away beggars? Just rule it out. Chapter 55 Shuzuo holds an umbrella and Amaterasu lights a cigarette. So now the first option is left. The reward is the reincarnation eye. The eye of samsara is known as the eye that controls life and death, and it is an existence beyond the eternal kaleidoscope. Just imagine, during the Shibuya Incident, a Shinra Tensei bulldozed Shibuya, followed by a few more earth-blasting Tensei. It must have been a great feeling. He has begun to resonate with Pain's feelings when he went to Konoha to carry rice. However, Shalu believes that to a certain extent, the eternal kaleidoscope is more practical. For example, the divine power he currently possesses with his eyes, both in terms of attack and perfect virtualization, are no less powerful than those of the samsara eyes. If you want to change it, just change it to 1. You have to keep the virtualization no matter what. This is the biggest guarantee against Susanoo's loan space in the future. There is no way. In the original work, Susanoo was able to take out the first loan and kill Gojo Satoru. Shalu could not guarantee that with him, Susanoo would be able to take out a second loan or even more. Therefore, when it comes to loans, I, Natsuliu Uchiha, would like to call him the strongest. Withdrawing his thoughts, he carefully analyzed the requirements of this task. As expected, the first option is suitable for him. If he wants to use the wooden style in the flower arrangement, he must fuse the Hashirama cells, otherwise he will not be able to use it. But is this G serious? However, it can be seen from the above information that Tuo Gen Lehu will also come. This is very different from the original work. Because, Xia Yu should have considered that besides Gojo Satoru, he also had his own reasons. If this is the case, will the students from the 2 major universities still compete in a hammer game? In the original work, a Waiu can chase and fight everyone, plus the words of Luahu and Tuogan. Then we don't need to call it a sisters exchange meeting, but a sisters battle royale. The butterfly effect is getting bigger and bigger, and maybe even, Xia Yu will take action. But then I thought about it, it probably wasn't very likely, after all Gojo Satoru is still there. That's right. This way you don't have to choose a location. Fusion of Hashirama cells directly in the forest battlefield of the exchange meeting. By the way, you can still be there in advance, covered with the marks of the flying thunder god. For now, let's deal with Shoko and Utahime first, and try to fuse Hashirama's cells before the exchange meeting starts. The next day, early morning. Because Gojo Satoru received information about Xia Yuji, he was not in school. Therefore, the task of guiding students was given to him, but he always felt that Gojo Satoru disappeared on purpose. Afterwards, Natsuliu also held a small meeting with Kugisaki Wild Rose, Zenin Maki, and Yoshino Junpei. After all, these three people are also members of the Akatsuki organization, so their strength must be ranked high. After doing all this, Shalo came to the infirmary. When I opened the door, I found Shoko and Utahime blowing on the air conditioner with expressions of enjoyment and playing soap operas on their mobile phones. One look at the domineering president, a bloody drama. Mr. Xia have you finished teaching your students? Shoko looked sideways at Natsuliu and smiled. Utahime looked at the two of them meaningfully. Well, I won't disturb you while you chat. However, Xia raised his hand to stop her and said with a smile, do you two want to go have a drink? I'll treat you. As soon as these words came out, Shoko's eyes flashed and his face turned slightly red. Since she was cut off by Mei Mei last time, she has never found a chance to invite Xia. Unexpectedly, Xia would actually invite him. Utahime put his hands on his hips and looked at Xia with a frown. You are quite ambitious, aren't you afraid that Mei Mei will make you kneel on the washboard? The corner of Xiaolu's mouth twitched. This time, I actually have something important that I want to ask you for help with. Izakaya. What? Utahime, who was sitting opposite Xia couldn't help but exclaimed, causing the surrounding guests to cast strange looks. Utahime leaned closer and lowered his voice. Are you serious about such a dangerous thing? Xia had already anticipated the two women's reactions and was not surprised. After all, this kind of thing does sound crazy. Shoko on the side had blurry eyes, took a sip of sake, and let out a comfortable moan, his face slightly tipsy from drinking. I agreed to Xiaolu's request. Hey. Sister Shoko, are you serious? This matter is life-threatening. You must be drunk. Shoko's sudden reply surprised Utahime, and Natsuliu on the side was also surprised. How could Shoko agree to her request so easily? Originally, he planned to teach the 8-gate Dunjia and some of his own experience to the two of them in exchange for their help. After all, there are 3,000 paths to the same destination. Although the nature of chakra and mantra are different, the methods of using them are different, and there are many places to learn. Just like, the method of compressing chakra is also applicable to mantra power. Shoko looked at Natsuliu with a flushed face. Natsuliu is my savior. Isn't this a good opportunity for me to repay him? So, whether he is drunk or not, I will agree to him without hesitation and will not ask too many questions. This was said to Xia and also to Utahime. Xia cast a grateful look at Shoko. She is indeed an intellectual sister who understands human feelings. Utahime curled his lips. TCH, I won't gossip like that. Everyone has their own secrets, and she won't force them to ask. Moreover, it was even harder for her to pursue questions about Xia, a mysterious guy. It is very generous of him to share his own experience and teach students. All spell colleges should thank him. However, she still wanted to complain. What a madman. Seeing that Shoko was easily dealt with, Xia looked at Utahime and was about to speak. Utahime said angrily, Okay. You said it's so dangerous, how can I leave a genius like you alone? If something happens to you, it will be a big loss to the college. Although she is a teacher at Kyoto Prefectural College of Magic and is under the jurisdiction of Rakugan Temple. But she thinks there is no difference between the two major colleges. The stronger Xia is, the better it will be for the entire Conjuring College. Therefore, after learning that her ability would play a key role, she had no intention of refusing from the beginning. Xia said awkwardly, drink and drink. In the evening, the three of them were walking on the street. Shoko seemed to be very happy today, so he drank a lot, and needed the help of Utahime to stand still. Suddenly it started to rain heavily. As spellcasters, the three of them would naturally not be affected by this rain. However, Shoko on the side complained, it's so annoying, the cigarettes are all wiped out. Boom. Above Xiaolu's head, purple flames burned, condensing into a skeletal arm, wrapping the three of them, completely blocking the rain. It doesn't matter that I'm a man, Shoko and Utahime may be tempted to wet themselves before long. Utahime raised the corner of his mouth slightly and praised. Oh, that's quite considerate. Then, Xia snapped his fingers. A wisp of black flame relit Shoko's extinguished cigarette, and then immediately dissipated under his control. Why? Black flame. So magical. The drunk Shoko opened her beautiful eyes slightly, just sighed, and took a sip with a look of enjoyment. Xia snickered in his heart. Susanoo held an umbrella, Amaterasu lit a cigarette. He finally understood the eternal kaleidoscope. Utahime on the side looked at Xia as if he were a monster. Even though the wisp of black flames disappeared quickly, she could still clearly feel the terrifying temperature in the black flames. What a monster. How many abilities does this guy have yet to show? Xia, my reverse curse technique is, to a certain extent, linked to medical skills, so I hope to borrow your potion for use. If we can do some research, we may be able to provide better targeted treatment when you fuse. Don't worry, I will only take a small drop for inspection, and will put it back carefully afterwards. It will never be wasted. Although the boy was drunk, his consciousness was still extremely clear. Hearing this, Xia thought for a moment and handed the medicine containing Hashirama cells to Shoko. Shoko's medical skills are unquestionable. It would be great if the therapeutic effect of reverse curse technique could be improved by studying the components of pillar cells. At this time, Utahime suddenly thought of something and asked, by the way, Xia, how soon do you plan to start the fusion? Have you chosen the location? After all, this is a life-threatening matter, and everything must be prepared before starting, and there is no room for sloppiness. Shalu said in a deep voice, it will start tomorrow, and the location will be the venue of the sisters' exchange meeting. Chapter 56 Transformation begins. Interesting for you. Selena Gomez posts powerful bikini then and now. More. 301. 75. 100. Kyoto sisters exchange meeting, deep in the forest, in a cave. Phew. As the whirlpool appeared, 4 people, Natsuliu, Shoko, Utahime, and Mei Mei, walked out one after another. Shoko handed the medicine containing Hashirama's cells to Xia Liu and said with an extremely solemn expression. Xia Liu, do you really want to take such a big risk to inject it? As soon as these words came out, Utahime and Mei Mei looked at Shoko at the same time. Mei Mei frowned and asked in confusion, Shoko, what's going on with this potion? Just last night, Xia Liu suddenly appeared in her dormitory and told her the general story. But what about the significant risks Shoko talks about? Didn't Xia Liu say there was only a little risk? Shoko pointed at the golden blood flowing in Xia Liu's hand and said in an extremely complicated way. After my extraction and observation last night, I found that the energy contained in the golden blood in the test tube is beyond imagination. They are unknown protocells. The phagocytosis and differentiation capabilities of these cells far exceed those of the cancers we know of. Once injected into the human body, these native cells will flow along Xia Liu's blood to the blood vessels throughout the body. By then, the blood in his body will be hotter than boiling water. His body temperature will also soar to an unimaginable level. The bursting of blood vessels will be inevitable, and the internal organs will also bear an unimaginable load. Xia Liu took a deep breath and asked in a solemn voice, how long will these symptoms last? He had actually expected these symptoms for a long time, but what he was most concerned about now was time. Shoko lit a cigarette and said in a deep voice, if he were an ordinary person, he would probably die suddenly the moment he injected the medicine, and all the pain would only last a few seconds. Speaking of this, she looked at Xia Liu helplessly. But as a spellcaster, you are powerful and have an amazing physique. The symptoms will last for at least 1 day. Even longer. But the longest will not exceed 3 days. So you can rest assured that this will be completed before the sister exchange meeting. All in all, this will be a battle of life and death. It depends on whether the cells in Xia's fluid will be exterminated by these native cells first, or whether he can produce enough antibodies to resist before then, so that a balance can be reached between the two and they can live in peace. Quote. Utatime and I will do our best to treat you for your physical breakdown, but for your mental torture. Shoko did not continue, everyone knew it. Last night, the whole process of her research was so frightening that she couldn't sleep all night. Just extracting a small drop contained such terrifying energy. But Xia Liu wanted to inject the entire bottle of medicine. This summer flow is really crazy. After hearing this, Utahime and Mei Mei couldn't help but take a deep breath. Utime. Is this so scary? Even though Xia Liu personally said yesterday that there would be a risk to her life, she never imagined that it would reach such an extent. No wonder Xia Liu wanted to ask her and Shoko for help. If he was alone, he would be in trouble. Mei Mei sighed helplessly, came to Xia Liu and glanced at her. Is this the little risk you told me? I think it's a little bit of 100 million, right? You guys, do you want me to be your widower? Xia Liu smiled awkwardly and touched his head. Shoko Utime is here to help, isn't it? I'm very confident, don't worry. Tisk, I really can't do anything to you. I can only succeed but not fail. Mei Mei did not persuade her too much. As his woman, she should not stop him at this time, but should do her best. She held a giant axe and stood guard in front of the hole, and began to share the view with the summoned crow. Although this is a special venue for the sisters' exchange meeting, no one is allowed to enter before the exchange meeting starts. But there are always eventualities. Under Crow's observation, she will never allow any person or animal to disturb the three of them. Life and death are determined by fate, wealth and honor are in the sky, come on Shoko. Natsuliu sat on the rock wall, handed Hashirama cell potion to Shoko, rolled up his sleeves, and stretched out his arms. In this way, he couldn't help but think of the scene in the past when he was given water and injections. Only this time, the anti-inflammatory potion was replaced by deadly Hashirama cells. How long has it been, and you still have the heart to laugh? Shoko rolled his eyes at him, but took the potion carefully. Call. She calmed down for a moment and made sure her hands were not shaking. She aimed the tiny needle at the front of the test tube at Xia Liu's blood vessels and slowly pushed down the needle. At this moment, all the concentrated Hashirama native cells were injected into the Xia fluid. Almost at the same moment, Shoko and Utahime activated their respective techniques. Boom. Utahime's individual zone enveloped Shoko. With her current quasi-level 1 strength, she can completely cover the entire cave. But in order to further provide Shoko with a boost, she focused her spell on Shoko alone. Shoko can clearly feel that his own cursory power has been increased, and the healing effect of reverse curse technique has been further enhanced. Inside the cave, there was silence. All you could hear was the nervous breathing of the 4 people and Xia Liu's extremely fast heartbeat. A second passed, and Xia Liu closed her eyes tightly. Apart from the heat all over her body and the swollen blood vessels, she felt no other discomfort. At this moment, not only did he not feel nervous, but he felt extremely calm inside. He was thinking what was all this for. In fact, he can completely survive and grow steadily. With his current strength, as long as he is stable, it is basically difficult to die. Is it to have huge chakra? To master the wood release? To complete the mission and obtain the Samsara Eye. It should be all. He wants to become stronger. So powerful that he can turn his spells into battles with beatings. Gradually, the blood in the body begins to boil, the blood vessels and meridians gradually expand, and the veins pop out. Boom. His heart beat suddenly as if being hit by a heavy hammer. Shalu's eyes widened and the whites of his eyes turned outwards. Puff. A mouthful of blood sprayed on the stone wall, staining it blood red. Shalu's eyes were bloodshot, his clenched teeth made a clicking sound, and his fists clenched and his nails dug deeply into his flesh. At the same time, the skin on his body was as red as a hot iron, and hot steam spurted out from every pore in his body. The three women were shocked at the same time. Mei Mei, who was at the entrance of the cave, bit her red lips and held the axe handle tightly. Utahime felt the warmth coming from Shalu's body and was extremely horrified. Upon seeing this, Shoko quickly placed his hand on Natsuliu's chest, and a warm and soft white light emitted, representing the opening of the reverse curse technique. The moment her palm touched Shalu's chest, she even wanted to pull away subconsciously. There's no other reason than it's too hot. But fortunately, her reverse curse technique does not require contact with the body and can be effective without any difference. Shoko whispered softly, if you want to scream, just scream. Such pleasure is unbearable, and if you hold it back, it will be counterproductive. Shalu actually wanted to scream for a long time, but he, who always had a good face, really didn't want to scream in front of girls. But the next second, he could no longer be tolerated. There was a click, and a muffled sound came from the body, which was the sound of blood vessels rupturing. Severe pain swept through his whole body, and Shalu stiffened in pain. Until this moment, the real integration has just begun. The concentrated cells between the pillars are constantly engulfing the original cells in the Sha fluid. Cells and organs are screaming at this moment. Ah! Shalu's painful fingers dug into the depths of the rock wall. It hurts. It hurts so much. Chapter 57 The plan to, accidentally, kill Itadori. Interesting for you. Selena Gomez posts powerful bikini then and now. More. 828. 207. 276. At the same time, there is a hot spring somewhere in the mountains. The white mist slowly rises from the spring into the air, as if covered with a hazy white gauze. At the edge of the hot spring, Luo who held the cigarette rod with one hand and took a deep puff with a look of enjoyment on his face. Ha, ha. After several days of hard work, Waiu finally agreed to make a new cigarette rod for it, and even engraved it with its own volcano head logo. Ah ha ha, I found it, Luo who is secretly enjoying it here. I saw the real person throwing off his shirt, revealing a body full of sutures, with long blue hair flying. He spread his arms, accelerated like a child, jumped into the hot spring, splashed water all over the sky, and extinguished the leaky cigarette rod. Luahu wrinkled his forehead into a tic-tac-toe, and summoned the flame to light the cigarette pole again. The real person raised his head and laughed heartlessly. It seems that you have recovered well, let's go to the high school together this time to cause trouble. Ah, Luahu looked displeased, should I go too? Since the last time it experienced Xia Lu's illusion, it was somewhat resistant to fighting Xia Lu again. A Gojo Satoru and a Natsuliu, it really can't think of a way to win. At this time, Xia Yuji slowly came up behind the two of them and said with a smile. It is true that you are not needed in the original plan, but considering the variables of Xia Lu, while you may not be enough. So this time, except for me, you four natural disasters will go out together to turn the high school upside down. In this way, real people will have the opportunity to take away all the Susanoo fingers collected in the high school. Tuo Gen is also going to come. Luo who looked surprised, but quickly added, let's make a deal first, Xia Lu and you will handle it. Xia Yuji said, don't worry, just leave it to Yu. Even if we can't beat him, we will definitely have no problem escaping, and there will be curse masters to cooperate with us. At this time, the real person suddenly interrupted, with a face full of distress. Speaking of Xia Lu, I suffered a lot last time when I collected artificial curse spirits. I seriously suspect that he has other hidden cards. Xia Yuji smiled helplessly. I have warned you not to overdo it, but in the end, each of you is more stubborn than the other. The real person put his hands behind his head, lying flat and floating on the hot spring, with fighting spirit in his eyes. I have decided, Luahu, to focus on Xiao's plan. Only Susanoo can deal with Gojo Satoru. I am really looking forward to it. What a scene it will be like when the strongest fights the strongest. It would be great if I could transform Gojo Satoru and Tsunoya into my artificial curse spirits. The real person began to daydream. It's interesting. Luahu's eyes were filled with fighting spirit again. Mount Fuji, above his head was ready to erupt, and the surrounding temperature suddenly increased. It doesn't matter even if the whole army is wiped out. It doesn't have to be me standing in the wilderness laughing loudly 100 years from now. But as long as these filthy humans can be eliminated. After all, we are the new humanity. Real person, calm down, Lehu, the hot spring has turned into boiling water. 3 days later, the weather was fine. Today is the day of the Jingdong sisters exchange meeting. On the forest path paved with floor tiles, all first and second grade students from Tokyo colleges have arrived. What? Instead of going to Tokyo Inn, we are going to have exchanges with Kyoto Inn in Tokyo Inn. The Kugisaki Rose remained motionless like a petrified statue. She looked at the pink suitcase at hand, as well as the large and small bags of snacks and clothes, and fell into thought. PFF'd. Ha ha ha. Only a woman like you, who is thinking about shopping, would hear it wrong. Itadori Yuji burst out laughing. Do you want to die? The laughter stopped suddenly, and Itadori immediately hid behind Fushiguro and continued teasing. You are such a violent wild woman. Only Natsuliu can cure you. Stop making trouble, people from Kyoto will be here soon, don't let them see the joke. Maki raised her hand to interrupt the two of them. Panda and Go-wan also agreed, with fighting intent burning in their eyes. Da da da. There was a sound of footsteps coming from the bottom of the stone steps, from far to near. Itadori and others all looked at him. Oh my, it's been a long time since I last saw you. I wonder how much your strength has improved. Mai, who was walking in the front of the Zen hall, glanced at everyone, and finally landed on Maki in the Zen hall. Tisk. Still looking so condescending. There were several people following behind him, namely, Miwa Kasumi with long blue hair shawl and a blank look on her face, looking around cautiously. Kamo Noriki, with his arms folded across his chest and a calm expression on his face. The cute Lolita with golden twin tails, Nishi Miyamomo. There are also mechanical pills. Wow. Steel, Iron Man, Itadori and Rose Kugisaki exclaimed. Apparently they were surprised by the mechanical pill covered in mecha. But then I thought about it, pandas can be magicians, so adding an Iron Man wouldn't be surprising. For a time, the two sides faced off against each other, and the smell of gunpowder filled the air. After Gojo Satoru and Utahime finished introducing the rules of this competition, Itadori raised his hand and asked, Teacher, where is Natsuliu? I haven't seen him for several days. As soon as these words came out, everyone turned their attention to Gojo Satoru and Utahime. Gojo Satoru. Yeah, that's right, where is Natsuruto? Everyone was speechless. As a teacher, don't you know? At this time, Utahime stood up and explained, Shalo has been studying a new technique recently. He may be late, but he will never be absent. After saying that, Utahime felt deeply in her heart. Over the past few days, she has completely admired Shalo. Fainting, then waking up from pain, this cycle repeated for 2 full days, but he still resisted. With such perseverance, she even suspected that the guy would be able to survive on his own even without the help of her and Shoko. Suddenly I realized why this guy was so strong. Now on the 3rd day, Shalu's condition gradually stabilized, but half of his body was already covered with strange-shaped wood. However, he said that there was no need to worry, it only took a thought to relieve the problem. Now, the danger is basically gone, leaving only Mei Mei to accompany him. Everyone. Oh, that's it. To other people, this is absolutely nonsense, but when it comes to Shalu, it is quite reasonable. They have begun to look forward to it. What new technique will Shalu come up with this time? Kyoto Inn. Antebellum meeting room. All the students in the Kyoto Academy stood quietly on the tatami, staring at the principal of Rakuganji who called them over. Kill Itadori as planned. A hint of fierceness flashed across Leian Temple's old face. This is what the higher-ups mean. Itadori Yuji is always an unstable time bomb. No one knows how many fingers he can hold. Once Susanoo can't bear it any longer, the consequences will be disastrous. So, I want you to, accidentally, kill him by hitting him too hard in the team competition. Miwa Kasumi pouted and complained in her heart, it's so annoying. Isn't it good for everyone to live in peace together? It's really troublesome. Zenuan Mai frowned. I'm afraid this matter is not that simple, right? Although Okatsu Yuta and Shokunji are not here this year, they have a summer flow over there, and they are so powerful. Speaking of this, she looked at Dongtang who was leaning against the wall. When Dongtang heard the name Shalu, he felt excited behind him. I couldn't help but recall those strange eyes in my mind. Rakuganji explained, according to the news, Natsuliu's strength is already comparable to that of Okatsu and others, so he will not participate. What? Comparable to Okatsu Yuta? Isn't that a super magician? Everyone looked at the principal, Leonji, in disbelief, and saw that he was still sitting on the tatami, motionless. Obviously, as the principal, Lianxi would not lie about this matter. If you think about it this way, doesn't the Conjuration College have one more special level conjurer? They heard teacher Utahime mention this summer stream. It is said that he is a rare talent who was introduced by Gojo Satoru not long ago. But who would have thought that in such a short period of time, he would become so strong? Not long after you entered school, you achieved special strength. Dongtang's eyes lit up and the gloom in his heart dissipated. So, what he faced last time was a special one. That would be an excusable loss, not a shame. Zenuan Mai then asked, but principal, killing is clearly prohibited at the exchange meeting, right? If you kill Itadori-san, how will you face Gojo Satoru? No need to worry, it is clearly forbidden to kill people, but Itadori is not technically a human being, so he will not be held accountable. Leian Temple said impatiently, okay, just do as you are told and don't ask too many questions. Yes, everyone sighed helplessly. If possible, they would not be willing to kill their fellow conjurers. At least in their hearts, Itadori is Itadori, and Susanoo is Susanoo. The principal of Leian Temple seems to be no longer the same person as before. It's all the fault of those old guys at the top. I'm so verbose, but I won't accompany you. Dongtang said in a disdainful tone and stood up to leave. Kamo Kenji looked at Dongtang and said in a deep voice, Dongtang is back. Dongtang paused and stared at him. Are you teaching me how to do things? The principal is still talking. Dongtang. Haha, do you want to see what nonsense the old man is talking about? I don't even bother to kill my own people. What nonsense is planning a strategy? Go and play it yourself. Goddess Takata will appear as a guest on the walking show. How can I live up to it? Question mark question mark question mark. Is this the reason why you were leaving in a hurry? The competition is about to begin, okay. Aimo Noriki frowned and said calmly, you can watch the replay afterwards. Come back. Dongtang seemed to be offended by this sentence. As a true fan of hers for 2.5 years, you let me be absent. I want to go to the scene. There must be no less replays. Even if the King of Heaven is here, I can't stop me. I said so. Or, do you want to have a fight with me outside? Chapter 58. The team competition begins. Interesting for you. Selena Gomez posts powerful bikini then and now. More. 81. 20. 27. As soon as these words came out, the atmosphere in the conference room suddenly became solemn. Miwa Kasumi and Nishimiya Momo shrank their necks and backed away silently, wanting to persuade but didn't dare. Seeing Layan Temple's face becoming more and more gloomy, Chanyuan Mai helplessly held her forehead and was about to speak. The magic power around Dongtang suddenly rioted, and he glanced at everyone. Listen to me, including the old man. For those of you who have terrible preferences for women, I have given up hope for a long time. You can do it yourself to kill Itadori and I will not care about it. But, you dare to give me a try. See if I dare to kill you. Boom. The terrifying momentum spread instantly, shocking everyone in the room. A group of high-level puppets, pathetic. After leaving these words, Dongtang slammed the door and walked out. In the viewing room, teachers from both schools have arrived. Gojo Satoru, Utahime, and others were sitting in the first row. Behind are the two principals, Masamiki and Rakuganji. At this time, Mei Mei suddenly pushed the door open, sat next to Utahime, waved her hand and said with a smile, sorry, I'm late. Utahime's mouth curved slightly, he quietly leaned forward and lowered his voice, Sister Mei Mei, we are alone in a cave. Nothing happened. Mei Mei crossed her legs, slightly opened her red lips, and said with a lack of interest, hey, he is almost a fool. He can't do it even if he wants to. I just applied facial cleanser on him a few times. Ah. Utahime's face was slightly red, he looked at Mei Mei's tall and round pet bear, and thought to himself. Will this kind of reward really not suffocate Xia Liu to death? Gojo Satoru, teacher Mei Mei, why hasn't Xia Liu come yet? The teacher in charge has his list. As Gojo Satoru finished speaking, the others also looked at Mei Mei. A glimmer of light flashed in Lianzi's dim and turbid eyes. He often dealt with high-level officials, so the name Xia Liu almost sounded like cocoon to him. The senior management seems to have a very bad impression of Xia Liu. What on earth did he do to make those old guys hate him so much? Mei Mei leaned lazily on Utahime's shoulder. Don't worry, he should be soon. Well, I also want to know what Xia Liu has been teaching during this period. Have my lovely students made any progress? It seems that the only way to reach a conclusion is through the next game. There were still 5 minutes left before the game, but Gojo Satoru couldn't wait any longer. He picked up the microphone and looked at the students on the screen. The game will start soon. Let our teacher Utahime give a pre-game speech. Hey, can't you just say it while the microphone is in your hand? Also, is it really good to start the game early? After complaining for a while, Utahime picked up the phone, cleared his throat, and said softly. Well, it is inevitable to get injured during the game. Well, everyone should cooperate with each other. Teacher Utahime is a bit shy. Students, please don't pay attention. Then the exchange meeting starts now. The sudden roar frightened the night goose Masamiki. Gojo Satoru, what are you shouting all of a sudden? What should I do if old man Layan has a heart problem? Lianzi raised his eyebrows and picked up the phone. Humph, I must have a good heart. In the mountains and forests, students from both schools twitched slightly as they listened to the voices on the radio. After complaining in their hearts, they all set off and galloped through the forest. On the Kyoto campus, 4 people ran quickly. Kamo Kenji frowned. Isn't that guy from Dongtang back yet? Exactly. Zenuan Mai helplessly spread her hands. Who knows that guy? He couldn't shake hands with his goddess Takata, and he won't come back even if the sky falls. We'd better follow the principal's instructions honestly. Milanexia quietly turned her face to one side and said in a very small voice. It's so troublesome. Don't you think peace is the most important thing? It's really annoying. Kamo Kenki, it doesn't matter if they don't have Dongdang. Except for the panda and Guma who are a little troublesome, they have nothing to fear. We only need to disperse them one by one to kill Itadori easily. In previous years, with the presence of 2 perverts like Okatsu and Shokunji, they were completely crushed. But now one of the 2 has gone abroad and the other has been fired by the senior management, so Tokyo is very weak. Mekamaru and Momonoshia flying in the sky are seriously looking for Itadori's target. Meanwhile, on the other side, Zenuan Maki holds a spear and is extremely powerful. Following her were naturally Itadori, Kugizuki Rose, Panda, and Inamaki. There is also the jade dog summoned by Fushiguro. Itadori, by the way, where is the hidden cursed spirit? It should be at the junction of the 2 parts of the forest, but it will definitely not stay still and wait for us to kill. Panda explained as he ran. Maki analyzed calmly. In short, after crossing this trail, the troops will split into 2 groups. Fushiguro will lead Kugisaki and the dogs will form a team, relying on the jade dogs to search for the scent of the cursed spirit. The rest will search in another direction with me. The East Hall is left to you, Itadori. Itadori was full of confidence. Don't worry. I've long wanted to try the Rasengan that Xia Liu taught me, how powerful it is. In response, Zenuan Maki smiled with fighting intent burning in her eyes. She couldn't wait to try out the results of her 8-door Dunjia training. Just then, Fushiguro Megumi suddenly shouted. Maki-senpai, be careful. In the dense woods ahead, a human-faced magic bead spirit suddenly appeared. Go there. It was hanging upside down and attacking everyone. The panda said disdainfully, it's just a trash fish. However, the next second. Boom. An extremely powerful fist wind roared past, like a torrent pouring down, breaking the trees along the way and kicking up dust all over the sky. When the smoke and dust dispersed, an extremely strong body stood in front of everyone. As for the cursed spirit, it had already been reduced to rubbish. Dongtang was extremely excited at this moment, and his whole body seemed to have endless strength. Just now, he successfully shook hands with Goddess Takata. Next time, it will be the time to express his love. He has already thought of the name of the child. He looked forward. Hey, they are all here, so let's go together. I want to hit 10. Dongtang grinned and made a loud muffled sound when his fists collided. Itadori, I leave it to you. Yes, I saw Maki and others quickly bypassing from both sides. Just as Todo was about to block it, Itadori's knee hit him. Boom. A solid top knee hit Dongtang's face. In the viewing room. The teacher's eyes lit up when they saw this scene. As expected of Kyoto in strongest combat force, Todo. Even if I kill the cursed spirit with one punch, I'm still unscathed by Itadori's full blow. I admire it, I really admire it. Night Goose Masamiki found the opportunity to applaud and praise. Lianxi snorted coldly and did not respond. The other party's weird tone was not a compliment, it was obviously using Todo to highlight Itadori's excellence. As a student who had just joined the junior high school, Itadori was able to catch Todo off guard with his extremely fast speed. Lianxi looked at the screen with turbid eyes and sneered in his heart. Let you be proud for a while, Kamo should take action soon. The petty feud between the principals of the two major universities has been going on for many years, so Gojo Satoru and the others did not interrupt. Within the forest. Bang bang bang. The two figures clashed at high speed, fists colliding. Todo roared in anger and blasted out with great force, knocking Itadori away with one punch and hitting the big tree heavily. Todo rubbed his nose and looked at the person in front of him with interest. Are you Itadori? He vaguely remembered that Xia Liu once said that a person named Itadori might be able to give him a satisfactory answer. Itadori didn't pay attention to the blood flowing from his forehead, assumed a fighting posture, and looked at the tall man in front of him warily. What a hard guy. He was not injured from the previous knee push and so many heavy punches. No wonder everyone attaches so much importance to this guy named Dongtang. Thinking of this, not only did Itadori not flinch, but he became even more motivated to fight. At this time, Dongtang slowly stepped forward, folded his hands on his chest and shouted with an extremely serious expression. Tell me, what kind of woman do you like? Chapter 59 Hashirama's Body, The Power of Wood Escape. Interesting for you. Selena Gomez posts powerful bikini then and now. More. 272. 68. 91. Ha. Hearing these words, Itadori's momentum instantly collapsed, obviously being shaken by these sudden words. 1 second he was fighting for his life, and the next second he asked him what kind of woman he liked. Is there any mistake? However, looking at Todo's extremely expectant eyes, Itadori couldn't bear to refuse. Why are you asking me this suddenly? Tell me, this is very important to me. Todo took a step closer again, staring into Itadori's eyes with burning eyes. Itadori swallowed and subconsciously stepped back. Finally, he held his chin, thought for a while, and said seriously, if you really want to say. I guess I like tall girls with big butts. Similar to Jennifer Lawrence. Having said this, Itadori himself rubbed his head in embarrassment. After all, it's better to keep this kind of thing in your heart. It's really a bit shy to say it out. Upon hearing this, Dongtang's eyes gradually widened, and his body suddenly shook. Suddenly, he looked up at the sky at a 45-degree angle, and 2 lines of clear water could not stop dripping down his cheeks to the ground. He kept murmuring, it's true. He didn't lie to me. Xia Liu didn't lie to me. If Xia Liu sees this scene, he just wants to say, Itadori field triggers within the 4 Cs. All brothers. Dongtang. The password is correct, the screen is loading. Memories that don't exist are about to appear. Todo is about to automatically think about the 10 years of deep brotherhood with Itadori. Soon, Dongtang fell into a wonderful world. There, he spent a wonderful high school with Itadori, and the two were inseparable friends. After that, Todo mustered up the courage to confess his love to the goddess Takata, but was rejected politely and won the good guy card. Takata's answer was, Todo, you are a good person, but we are not suitable. Under the cherry blossom tree, Todo lost his mind and let the petals fall to the top of his head. Itadori suddenly appeared like a ray of light. After that, Itadori patiently comforted him and helped him get out of his emotional dilemma. From then on, I decided to become a Sigma man. The end of non-existent memories. In just a few seconds, in Todo's mind, Itadori's status was irreplaceable. At this time, Itadori was already stunned. Looking at the macho man who suddenly shed tears in front of him, he spread his hands in confusion. Are you okay? Are we still fighting now? After all, we are rivals. Did this guy cry just because of his answer? Dongtang wiped away his tears. No. We are close friends. If I remember correctly, this is the first time we have met, right? No need to say more, let's discuss it as close friends. Before Itadori could react, Toto stepped towards Itadori. The two fought again. Rather than saying it was a fight, it was more like Toto giving Itadori tricks. At the same time, the sky above. The cute Lolita Nishimiya Momo rode a magic broom and stared at the two people below. After hesitating for a while, she dialed the phone. Not far away in the forest, Kamo Kenji answered the phone. It doesn't matter, the guy said he won't stop our actions. Miwa, mechanical pill, Itadori is in front, let's go. In the viewing room, everyone is staring at the picture on the screen. The scene just now was obviously caught in the eyes of everyone, and it made Gojo Satoru and others laugh until their stomachs almost cramped. Only Lianzi's face was covered with black lines, and the crutch in his hand was almost crushed. Ha ha ha, this dongtang is really interesting and quite to my liking. Yi Goose, why don't you dig up the East Hall? Gojo Satoru laughed and looked at Masamiki, the night goose behind him. Ahem, Masamiki coughed twice and gave him a crazy look. How can you say something like this when the principal is sitting next to you? Don't you give me any face. However, at this moment, the screen responsible for playing Itadori and Toto suddenly went black, followed by countless small snowflakes. Hey, what's going on? Could it be that the surveillance system is broken? It shouldn't be. I specifically asked someone to refurbish it before the competition. Gojo Satoru was very puzzled. Just when everyone was worried about it, a smile appeared on the corner of Layan Temple's mouth. It's completely normal. It may have been caused by a fierce fight. Regarding these words, everyone nodded without too much doubt. After all, this situation had happened in the previous 2 sessions. At that time, with the existence of Okatsu, more than one surveillance screen was damaged. Yutahime looked curiously at Mei Mei, who had a calm face next to her and was holding her fair chin with one hand. Sister Mei Mei, didn't you find the scene just now interesting? Mei Mei closed her eyes tightly and put a finger in front of her red lips. Shish, I'm watching Shalo. Hearing this, Yutahime instantly understood that Mei Mei had been using crows to share the situation over Shalo. As for the competition, she didn't seem to care at all. The plan to siege Itadori is about to begin. On the other side, deep in the forest, inside a cave. Shalo supported the wall and came out, the golden sunshine shining on his cheeks. He spread his hands, narrowed his eyes slightly, and welcomed the sunshine, as if he had been reborn. The fusion of pillar cells is nearing completion, and the previously inhuman pain has disappeared. Taking out the mirror Mei Mei gave him, Shalo's mouth twitched. At this moment, almost half of his body turned into wood, branches grew out of his right arm, and flowers even bloomed on his face. Damn, I'm so stupid that I can't escape Baiju. That is impossible. As the words fell, boom, Shalo's body suddenly shook, and the wood, branches, and flowers on his body instantly turned into powder. Instead, there is a strong body with clear lines, and every inch of muscle seems to contain explosive power. Transformation has been successful. Is this the power of concentrating Hashirama's cells? Every cell in the body is full of infinite power, almost bursting out. And every cell contains huge amounts of chakra. From now on, the word Quellan will no longer exist in his dictionary. Shalo walked out of the cave and raised his hand slightly, wood release. Cutting technique. Rub 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 rub. Countless sharp wooden bars suddenly stabbed out of the ground, sealing the entire cave in an instant. Seeing this scene, Shalo's mouth curved slightly and nodded with satisfaction. As the saying goes, high risk, high reward. This time after fusing Hashirama's cells, he not only gained himself a huge amount of chakra. The most important thing is that he can also successfully perform the wood escape technique. His strength made a qualitative leap at this moment. Later, the system said that it was necessary to cut flowers, so the cutting technique was perfect. By the way, Hanayu seems to be very good at controlling trees. In the original book, he controlled a giant tree and chased Itadori and the others to kill him. I wonder if my wood escape in Tree Realm Jongdan can beat it. Shalo couldn't wait any longer. Mei Mei just left not long ago. Counting the time, the sister exchange meeting should have started. In that case, he clapped his hands and instantly created several shadow clones. Shalo said calmly, find the location of everyone in the high school and place the flying thunder god's mark everywhere. Yes, the shadow clones quickly ran towards the depths of the forest. Facing the coming 4 major natural disasters, Shalo will not be arrogant just because he becomes stronger. The mark of the flying thunder god must be arranged. Fusing the body between pillars and mastering the power of wood release is just the beginning. The next step is the reincarnation eye. Therefore, Shalo does not plan to go back to the viewing room, but directly waits here for the arrival of Luahu and the others. Then, he slowly raised his head. Facing the crow on the tree, he smiled and waved, and the vortex appeared and disappeared in place. Chapter 60 A New Life. His eyes returned to the playing field. Boom. Itadori and Toto exchanged punches and were knocked back several meters. Gee, this guy is so powerful, it seems he can only use that move. Itadori's body bowed slightly, his palms facing each other, and a red energy ball compressed and condensed by the magic power appeared in the palm of his hand. This is exactly the Rasengan that Xia Liu taught him, but currently his ability can only condense the size of a basketball. Teacher Gojo Satoru once said that he cannot use magic techniques at the moment because most of them are already in the body from birth. Unfortunately, there is no magic in his body, and his physical fitness is his only advantage. But the Xia Liu sect Rasengan was different. After initial mastery, I discovered that the Rasengan was not strictly a spell at all, but a special way of compressing the power of the spell. As long as you have the power of magic and master this magical compression method, you will have a chance to use it. But precisely because of this, he admired Xia Liu even more for being able to think of such a wonderful method. Dongtang looked at the red energy ball in front of him and asked curiously, what kind of technique is this? He could clearly feel the terrifying power contained within the energy ball, and it continued to increase as Itadori accumulated more power. At this moment, Itadori became alert and decisively threw the Rasengan, but the direction was not to the east hall, but to the top of the tree trunk beside him. Almost at the same moment. Boom! A bullet created by the magic power was fired and collided with the Rasengan. The bullet was quickly extinguished, but the power of the Rasengan was not reduced at all. What? Before the Rasengan arrived, the crazy wind was already blowing his cheeks in pain. Chanyuan Mai's eyes widened, she suppressed the shock in her heart, and she barely escaped with a jump. Boom! The big tree was instantly crushed by the Rasengan. Looking at the position of the big tree where she was before, Chanyuan Mai took a breath of cold air. What a powerful force. Doesn't it mean that Itadori has no other means of attack besides brute force? What's going on with this red energy ball? Hee. Are you satisfied with the power? This is a unique skill that Xia Liu taught me step by step. Itadori shook his numb wrist and smiled excitedly. Zenuan Mai, is it that Xia Liu? Teacher Utahime once said that what scares Xia Liu the most is not his strength, but the terrifying creative ability. Presumably, this strange energy ball should be one of the spells he created. This is so powerful even if it is placed on Itadori. What would it be like if Xia Liu himself performed it? The more I think about the Zen temple, the more frightened I becomes. If I have the opportunity in the future, I must learn more about Xia Liu. Not bad power. Suddenly, an indifferent male voice sounded. Itadori turned around suddenly and saw Kamo Kenki on the tree trunk behind him, drawing his bow and arrow to its full capacity and aiming it at himself. At the same time, a figure composed of mechas flashed by his side, the mechanical pill opened his palms, and the energy cannon condensed in the palms of his hands. The hunting time begins. Itadori scanned the surroundings with his eyes and gritted his teeth. Are you surrounded? Wrong. He looked at the muzzle of the revolver pointed at him, the bow and arrows that were fully drawn, and the mechanical pellets that were about to fire. I had a bad feeling in my heart. Are these people trying to kill me? At this time. Snapped. Applause. Itadori and Todo instantly changed places. Everyone looked stunned, and Kamo Kenki found Itadori who suddenly appeared on the top of the tree with a confused look on his face. This is Todo's technique. Boom. A punch came, and everyone quickly retreated to avoid it. I said before, if you dare to hinder me, I will kill you. The East Hall was like a ferocious beast, its eyes sweeping towards everyone. Kamo Shanji felt distressed and retorted, you clearly said that you dare to command you. Go away. It doesn't matter what you do. It's all the same. Before he finished speaking, he was interrupted by an angry roar. The atmosphere suddenly became quiet. After a brief silence, Kamo Kenki put away his bow and arrows and passed by Dongtang. Seeing this scene, Itadori on the tree became even more confused. What on earth is going on? He was going to kill me a second ago, and now there's internal strife. Zenuan Mai, annoying guy. Mechanical pill, looks like we have to evacuate temporarily first. Miwa Kasumi clenched her hands into fists and said excitedly, great. Kamo Kenki said calmly, we can't kill Itadori as long as Todo blocks it. But you cannot disobey the order of the principal of Layan Temple. Evacuate temporarily and slowly look for opportunities. Seeing a few people leaving, Todo looked at Itadori, finally no one can disturb us anymore. Come on, let's continue our discussion. But before that, Todo suddenly walked up to Itadori, hooked his shoulder and smiled. For the sake of saving you just now, can you teach me about the energy ball you just made? Ah, you mean the Rasengan? No, this is what Xia Liu taught me. The copyright is in his hands and I have to get his consent. Dongtang was hit hard. Hey. We are close friends. High in the sky, Nishimiya Dao, who witnessed everything below, sighed, this is a complete mess. Anyway, come on. I'm very cute today. However, at this moment, a Shikigami with thunder and lightning wrapped around its body and an owl-like face suddenly appeared above her. This is Fushigiro's Nu. Oops. Boom. Nishimong Dao was caught off guard and was struck down by the thunder and lightning summoned by Nu. Kamo and others who were running below saw this situation and were planning to provide assistance. Ding. An iron nail with magical power passed by at high speed, and several people narrowly avoided it. The iron nail cut through the air, rotated at high speed, and suddenly pierced the broad tree trunk. After a slight obstruction, it directly penetrated the tree trunk. Kamo Kenki and others looked at the big tree that was penetrated in the distance with lingering fear, and their hearts were extremely shocked. What a powerful penetrating power. What the hell is going on? Forget about the energy ball Itadori used before. Why is even Kugisaki Rose so powerful? Although the master of the sneak attack has not yet appeared, they had already done their homework before the game. Among the students in the Tokyo Academy, only the one named Kugisaki Wild Rose can use nails as weapons. But shouldn't she be so strong? If it had been their bodies like that just now, I'm afraid they would have been pierced in an instant. Just when they were confused, a voice came out. Yes, the speed and power have been greatly improved after the magic power is compressed. Xia Liu's compression method is really good. Rose Kugisaki walked out of the grass with one hand on her hip and a love hammer in her hand, with a satisfied smile on her lips. Behind her were Maki, Panda, and others. Just now, the smart panda recalled what Gojo Satoru had warned before the competition: Kyoto schools may be disadvantageous to Itadori. In addition, they have never bumped into them, and the opponent seems to be avoiding them intentionally. This is very different from previous games. Everyone immediately thought of this possibility: the other party's purpose is Itadori. Xia Liu again. Zenuan Mai exclaimed. Kamo Kenki and others also looked at Kugisaki Wild Rose with solemn eyes. It seems that their increase in strength is all related to that person named Xia Liu. In this case, we can no longer carry the previous contempt. Fushiguro Megumi looked at them with sharp eyes. Kamo-senpai, are you planning to kill Itadori? What responded to him was flying bows and arrows. For a time, everyone was in a ball. Maki shot away Kamo Miwa with one shot, and Fushiguro Megumi faced off against Kamo Kenki. The panda roared angrily and hit the mechanical pill with a heavy fist. Zen Garden. The moment Mai saw her sister Maki, she clenched her fists and the revolver in her hand was ready to shoot. But she won't do this. She will wait until Maki gets rid of the useless Miwa Kasumi before fighting him alone. Even though she is a younger sister, it does not mean that she will lose to her elder sister. In the distance, Kugisaki Wild Rose kept hammering out nails, chasing the falling Nishimiya Momo. My lovely little sister, be careful to avoid it. Nishimiya Dao's cheeks puffed up in anger. Damn it. I'm your senior.